Test. That was weird. I forgot my light. That's the thing that I was saying. That's weird. It defaulted to the other thing. But anyway, all right. Welcome to the party. We got our boy Nick Lucchetti in the building, and a shout out to King Nirvana. Thank you for that. Hopefully everything else is good as well. Of course, let me know. Bill Maher, our favorite liberal, just had Tim Pool on his podcast. And I thought it was rather interesting from what I saw, rather interesting discussion that I think separates Tim from the audience that he is trying to cultivate. And you'll see what I mean as we go through this. But as the title says, Bill really does extract the liberal out of Tim. And not to say that, he's all, going to go anti-Trump or anything like that. But I did think it was interesting. So let's dive right in. As always, guys, if you cannot hear the video, please do that.
I mean, I just don't feel like anybody in this country can even presume that what people think about them is anywhere near the truth. And if you do think that, you're very naive, and people are just going to want to believe. Somebody told me just the other day that, speaking of girlfriends, this one is funny. This one wasn't in that list, but they could have put it there. But they were out to dinner with a few people, and this person said that I used to date Ann Coulter.
I've heard that.
Which
I have heard it.
Okay, well, it's not true. And both of us would say that. Now, am I friends with her? Yes. And anyone who doesn't like that can go fuck themselves. I'll be friends with whoever I want. I think I proved that over and over again, including with Donald Trump. I believe in talking to people. But it's not like I've ever, to either one of them, given an inch on what my beliefs are. It's not like I'm taken in. I just think we need to talk to each other. And
if I was being a super nitpick, I would pause the video, make myself big, and talk about the fact that he feels so proud that he hasn't changed his opinions at all, as if that's a good thing. I get what he's trying to say, that they didn't change his mind. But if you're talking to new people with new ideas, maybe you should change a little bit. But if I was nitpicking, I would say that, but I'm not.
Anyone who doesn't want to do that. But, this idea that the image that people have of you is anywhere near what you really are. Yes, that got way worse in the internet age, but I think it was almost always thus.
Absolutely.
It
goes both ways too. My fans think they know me based on seeing my face for, well, to be honest, I do like 5 hours of recording a day. But those that watch, they watch several hours a day, and they think this shows them everything about me.
Right.
And to be honest, the people who watch me are much better informed as to who I am than the people who don't. But they still have this probably, rose-colored glasses view of who I am and what I represent and stuff.
Well, and I mean, depending on who you are and what your content is and what space you're in, that is, the parasocial relationship stuff that we talk about all the time. And it's difficult to articulate that, like, hey, I really like talking to you guys. I made zero money off of my last stream, but I didn't care because there was a lot of people here. We were hanging out. There was good conversation. I got to say a lot of things. That's what I'm here for. And but that being said, this is still a job to me, and you guys are here to give me engagement, money, all that kind of stuff. And as much as friendly as we could be, it's very unlikely that we will ever be friends. Now, like, I see Nick and King here. If when we meet up at the 10K party, that's a little bit different. But the average person that, you just kind of catch their stream every once in a while, you watch their videos every day, you don't know that person.
So better. You say rose-colored.
Yeah, they're fans. And so they...
But sometimes fans, I mean, about a month ago, during my monologue, this had never happened in over 600 tapings of Real Time, but during my monologue, I see a guy in the audience with his phone out taking a picture. And I stopped the monologue. I mean, I just went, I walked over. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Stupid. There's no taking pictures here. And then,
we're kind of doing a thing here, bro.
And the audience laughed, and I said, it's so disappointing when even your own fans are assholes, because like it takes a lot to get tickets to Real Time. People write in and he was a fan, and it's just, but like people can be assholes even your own. You can't ever be so purist as to think, well, the good people. I mean, that's one of our big problems, I think, politically. It's like this idea that we're the good people. We know we know what's good, and anyone who doesn't agree with that, well, they're an existential threat to America.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, obviously here we know what's good, and everybody else who doesn't agree with us is existential threat to America. But, other people thinking that are crazy.
And that happens on both sides.
I agree, but
You too, buddy. You too.
It is a weird position for me to be in. I was talking to some friends before the show, and I was saying, like, I think that if you and I discussed policy solutions for the country, I'd probably be to the left of you. But
In some ways, yeah.
probably most
You
ways.
like Bernie.
I did.
I like Bernie, but I don't
Yeah, I
want
was gonna say, I
socialism in
did.
America.
But have you guys seen the clip of Bernie Sanders on the Flagrant podcast with Andrew Schultz, basically just admitting that he is a shill and that the Democrat establishment is terrible? Put a one in the chat if you've not seen that. That is a worthy side quest.
We need more than what we have. We already have plenty.
But the issue is today, I feel like what defines someone politically is not it's not the policies they want, but it's what they believe to be true.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah, Matt Taibbi writes about this.
I'm a big fan. He's amazing.
Yeah.
And they
got a one in the chat. All right, let's do a little side quest here. Let's do Bernie Sanders, Andrew Schultz. Let's go with Megyn Kelly is probably going to get the right clip that we're looking for.
On the subject of the Dems, Bernie, the Medicare prices and the
shout out, of course, to Anna Kasparian as well.
and the prescription drugs. He went on the
This is boom.
Flagrant podcast recently with our pal Andrew Schultz, and they had a really interesting discussion. Here's a bit where he's talking about the problem within the Democrat Party. It's SOT 19.
The problem I think a lot of voters had is like they didn't even know if it was her. We didn't even know if Biden was president. We didn't even know if these were her talking points. And we felt that over the last 4 elections, Democrats, we felt that we didn't have a say on who could be president. We talk a lot about the Republicans being autocrats and oligarchs and taking over democracy. But from the Democrat perspective, and I'm a lifelong Democrat, I felt like the Democratic Party completely removed the democratic process from its constituents. And I think they need to have some accountability of that.
No argument here.
But then could we not also say if ostensibly there hasn't been a fair primary for the Democrats since 2008, are they not also a threat to democracy? Yes. We often hear.
Fair enough.
Yep.
That is. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that point.
I love the way he talks. The accent is just so great to listen to. He's not wrong, right? I mean, he of all people has standing to say that because it happened to him twice.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, Bernie's back. And what I mean by that is he's realized that you can't really play nice with the Democratic establishment and expect to get your policy priorities passed. Expect them to help you out in whatever your agenda might be. And, 2015, 2016 Bernie, when he was running in the 2016 race, was a little different from 2020 Bernie. And what I mean by that is
you just outlined here's SOT 20.
We have a question we want to ask about what happened to you in 2016 with this Bernie Bros movement, where
that was me. I was a Bernie bro.
Your followers are seeing they have a racism problem, a misogyny problem. Do you think that's a super PAC thing behind that?
That was the Democratic establishment. That was the.
Oh wow. Okay.
That was just they were sitting there. We had a lot of young people. We had people of color, and they create this kind of myth with the help of the corporate media and all that stuff.
It's kind of interesting to that note is during this election, the podcast space, which the Democrats largely avoided, they feel had some influence in the election, and they started to label us the podcast bros and said that we were sexist and we were racist and bigoted. It's almost like it's the exact same strategy to get you out of there.
Yeah, that's what the liberal elite trying to does.
And then I'll give you one more.
Oh, we got one more, a bonus
He followed up on no one wants to keep doing this identity politics thing anymore in SOT 21.
And then you get to what we call identity politics.
Yeah.
That you're black, you're wonderful, you're tremendous, you're gay, you're the greatest human being on earth.
Yeah.
And rather than say, what do you stand for?
Exactly.
You're gay, that's fine, who cares?
Yeah.
But what do you stand for?
Yeah.
Is every gay person brilliant and wonderful and great? No, of course not. Everybody's a human being.
Yeah.
So the issue is what you stand for, which gets you back to what we discussed earlier, class politics, in the sense of which side are you on? Are you going to stand with working families? Are you going to raise the minimum wage to a living wage or not? Are you going to fight to guarantee health care to all people or not? Are you going to demand that the wealthiest people start paying their fair share of taxes or not? Those are the issues. And no one cares what color you are, what your gender is, et cetera, et cetera.
And so, I mean, obviously it is nice to hear that he is acknowledging these truths. It's nice to hear that he said, yeah, the Democratic Party is bullshit. But the fact is, if you already knew this, why have you been carrying water for them for so long, even up until 2016? Like that would be reasonable. But again, why are we? If you know this, why are you like I said, holding water for them? It don't make no sense. All right, I'm back in here. Yeah, I don't know what happened with the chat last time. It's a new thing, so when they do that, it goes away. But new stuff should come up. But rolling through the banners, you'll see what.
It's not the policies they want, but it's what they believe to be true.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah, Matt Taibbi writes about this.
I'm a big fan. He's amazing.
Yeah,
and they call him far right now.
I sure don't agree with everything he says.
Hey, shout out to Mom Tech, the millionaires and billionaires. Nope. Ever since he became a millionaire, it's just the billionaires, the billionaires. Welcome.
Amazing.
Yeah,
and they call him far right now.
I sure don't agree with everything he says. I mean, I think he's wrong about Russiagate and a lot of other stuff. But first of all, he's just funny. He can say things that make me LOL. I cannot say that about many writers. Just the choice, like description of something in one or two words is just very often just priceless. But what were we talking about? Why did I bring up Matt Taibbi? What did he say?
What makes someone liberal, conservative?
Oh yes,
he
writes so well about this and about how the modus operandi of news organizations used to be informing the public, and then it became audience stroking. How can we interpret this thing that just happened in such a way that our audience will give us likes?
Yep.
I like that. I like you said it that way. I like your point of view because that's what I already think, and I hate them, and so I like.
He's right.
He's right.
Yep.
NPC behavior, and that's both sides.
No, and it's just.
I worked for ABC. Started ABC Univision did a joint venture in 2014 called Fusion, and I was at Vice, and I moved over there, and that.
Tim Pool fans have heard this story a billion times, but just in case you're not,
they told me that the new trend was going to be called mission-driven storytelling, and I said, "What does that mean?" And they said, "There's no such thing as objectivity. Everyone is subjective. So we're going to tell the stories that our audience wants to hear." I had a meeting with the president. And
guys, don't forget about that Swoggle. We do have peanut butter up for Morty. Check the top of the chat right over the pinned chat. 15 supers at any level or a $50 total will get my co-host, our overlord, some peanut butter.
He was talking to me about this, and I said, does that mean if there is a news story that is true and important, we would choose not to report it because it might upset our audience? And he said, yeah, I think that's fair. The company went bankrupt. They fired everybody. But this wasn't unique to them. They were chasing the trend. One of their marketing guys told me explicitly, we want to maximize shares because we have to maximize views. We have to maximize views because we've already sold a set amount to the advertisers. One company bought 500,000 views from us. We don't complete that contract until those views are delivered. How do we deliver them? Angering moms. Middle-aged women who are angry share more than anyone else. So we're going to write stories that do that. That's actually what he told me. So it was social justice. It was racism.
I just pictured my writers all guffawing just because, I'm always I've had like a writer's room since 1993, Politically Incorrect.
Yeah, wow.
That show went on there. So
I was a little kid.
Yeah.
Shout out to Brandon Murphy. Welcome to the party. And even though Tim Pool is arrogant, he's speaking facts like how it is. We need more people to speak the truth and facts. I definitely agree, and I think part of the reason that I wanted to cover this conversation is it has a window into the space where Tim's arrogance makes a little bit more sense. And as we go through this, I'll be able to point that out a little bit more clearly. But we're covering areas where Tim is on. Tim has had these opinions. He has honed these opinions. He's honed the arguments. Whereas there's other stuff like with the religion stuff and just in generally with the doomerism that I don't love as much. But I think we get the real Tim here. Welcome to the party, Brandon.
1993, Politically Incorrect.
Yeah, wow.
That show went on there. So
I was a little kid.
Yeah, I'm sure. And it's, the joy of my life. One of the great joys is having a writer's room. I've said this before, but like Paul McCartney once said, I'd rather have a band than a Rolls Royce, and I'd rather have a writer's room. But a writer's room has always been
and what?
Me, The Bachelor, and then like 10 guys who are married and are always making, like, just in the room, this is not going to be on the show, but like always just making jokes about marriage and how they don't get laid and they don't get blown. You know, it's like it just never.
Telling you don't get married.
Well, they're just
pretty much. Shout out to Chuck E. Cheese. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Said Tim's point is accurate, but it's hypocritical because I believe Tim Pool mostly just says what his audience wants to hear. And that I think we're going to see that a lot more clearly here, because, you know, on his show, he can kind of, you know, one video to the next, he can kind of slither around, and in a conversation, he'll just take whatever position is helpful. And he's not nearly as bad as some other people in the industry, but I do think that is the case. And again, this is why after 4 or 5 years of being a paying member, I just canceled my Timcast membership. I don't hate him. I don't have any bad will with him. It's just not something I'm willing to pay for anymore. So welcome, welcome, welcome to the party.
Just, it's everybody does it. I watch TMZ every night. The guys, the people in the you know, the gallery that Harvey talks to, they're just same thing. They're just endless jokes that are made about how much marriage sucks. But if you say a bad word against it, they're like, you're the crazy one.
You know,
you're a newlywed, right?
I am, yeah. But you know, I think
awkward.
No, but I agree. I think, you know, I'm 39 and I just had my first child, and it's amazing. And I just got married, and I do think for the millennial generation, largely, every TV show, we didn't have these wholesome family shows. Everything was like marriage is scary and bad and mocking marriage.
So which ones? Like
Married with Children.
Yeah,
I understand.
I was on it.
Oh, wow.
I was a guest star. I played a game show host on.
And I mean, Married with Children is even a little bit before my time, in the sense that it was on, obviously, when I was alive. But I wouldn't have been watching, you know, that was like adult TV. I would have been watching Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon or something, maybe some MTV. But, you know, I was aware of the show. Yeah, so all my life. And I'm a millennial.
Married with Children.
I mean,
you
it was
can
a
look
funny
it up
show
on YouTube.
I'll take a look.
You should. It's pretty funny.
But I understand that there were
that would be a fun side quest, but I think they'll claim that
those moments where they loved each other. But it very much was this slog of like, oh no, I'm married. It's bad. Oh geez. What do you think happens when these millennials grow up and they get these red pill dating guys saying everything they grew up hearing?
All right, let's whatever. Fuck it. Let's risk it. Risk it for the biscuit, right? That's the only way to go. Risk it for the biscuit. Worst case, we'll cut it out. On Married with Children. I think if I play any more, they are going to claim it. But that is a good start. Yeah, I'm a little too young for it. I would be interested to go back and watch it just to see, you know, what the vibe was. But you know, Tim talks about it a lot in this context.
When these millennials grow up and they get these red pill dating guys saying everything they grew up hearing is true, but not comedy serious, and then they end up believing it.
Okay, but Tim, the reason why those jokes work is because that's how people do feel about marriage.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm lucky, I guess.
You're a newlywed is what you are. You know, we've
known each other for almost 20 years.
20 years?
Yeah.
So you married your high school sweetheart?
I guess.
Didn't he drop out of high school?
Technically, we
that's like something Dick Cheney does.
It is pure luck.
Well, who's gonna take this big bimbo on a cruise?
I'm lucky. I am lucky. Which camera do I look at?
Just look at me.
We're both from Chicago. We both like the same music. We have very similar views. We're both lapsed Catholics, and it's like, you know, I got lucky, and I know.
Well, I'm a lapsed Catholic. We could have a throuple.
Pass.
I was gonna say, Bill, I think you're barking up the wrong tree there. We're seeing that Tim's a liberal, but maybe not a leftist.
I know.
Well, I'm a lapsed Catholic. We could have a throuple.
Pass.
Shout out to Josie. Welcome to the party. So I started to like Bill a little more, especially after the Kid Rock appearance. Yeah, I mean, he definitely is willing to cross the aisle. That's something that I think Bill has always been good about. But like I was saying earlier, when he's like, I've never changed any of my opinions, I feel like he can go into, you know, these enemy territory type discussions because he's willing to just dig his heels in. And I mean, it's better than not talking to the opposition. But if you're only going to talk to the opposition so that you can say you talk to the opposition, that's kind of like virtue signaling. But again, it is better. And I do think even if he is trying to dig his heels in and be like, no, I'm the same person I always ever was, that stuff is going to affect you. So hopefully we can only hope, right? We can only hope because, he's talking to, he had Charlie in here, he had Tim in here, a bunch of people from across the aisle. And at the very least, if they have an influence, then we ain't hating. Welcome to the party.
No, but I am lucky. And, it's weird how I see all these stories and people talk about marriage and I'm like, it sounds like you got married to someone you don't really know. Because Allison and I know each other very well and we get along very well and we're both very rational, reasonable people.
That's a great thing to find in a woman.
I know.
And I don't mean that. I'm not saying women are crazy.
Aren't they though?
They're not. Men are also, or let's put it this way, we're both crazy.
Yep.
And it's not like men aren't emotional and blah, blah, blah. But I don't really care about that aspect in men because I don't date men. Yep. What I care about is the opposite sex. And if you can find a woman who's sexy and also rational, that's great because they sometimes, let's just put it this way, they sometimes don't go hand in hand.
Yes,
sometimes. But yeah, I think that is a solid point about the not knowing who you married. And it's not necessarily because, you got married too fast and you didn't spend enough time. I think it has a lot more to do with the willingness to open yourself up to a person that you're with. And there's a million and one reasons we could say why that is the case. But, you can be with someone for years and not really know who they are.
True. It was funny that
I said my piece.
I was talking to my wife and I made a joke. I said, bitches be crazy, yo, which is a line from the movie.
Of course, it's nothing.
And then she goes, are you kidding? She's like, I've watched you guys out there at the skate park. You guys are nuts. And I look out the window and one of our team riders is like trying to jump off a building. And I was like, she's right. Men are crazy in different ways.
Different ways, of course.
We got a guy
Absolutely.
So we bought these things called Grabos. Okay. They are handles with vacuums that you can stick to a wall. And I bought them because they were funny.
Handles with
vacuum. Okay. So it's this oval and it's got a handle on it. You take it, you press a button, put it on the wall. And
it's like what Tom Cruise uses to climb down a 130-story building, right, doing his own stunt in Mission Impossible.
And
right. And they say Scientology doesn't make it crazy.
Well, so one of our skateboarder team riders, Mike Noggle, decided he was going to jump up on his board against the wall, grab them, and then flip himself upside down. And then he fell on his head and he had to go to the hospital. And so I said, my wife is right. Men are crazy in different ways.
Yeah. No, again, no doubt.
Wait a minute, Tim Pool. Are you saying that men and women are different?
Doubt about that. It just doesn't matter to me because I don't have relationships with men that involve, and once in a while, there have been guys I like and I'm not going to mention everybody specifically, but they will get a little girl-like, and I will have to say to them, bro, I don't have this kind of shit with women. You think I'm going to have it with you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll call you.
Yeah, like if one of your guy friends is like bitching and moaning, like there's a level of being a human being. Like, if you're friends with someone, they're being a dick to you, and you'd be like, yo, why are you, what's going on with it? That's one thing. But you know that there's always that one person in your friend group who is constantly just being dramatic like a fucking woman. And it's like, come on, we don't need that. We get that enough with the women. The other thing, I mean, I guess this is not really related, but I don't know. It popped in my head. So actually, I'm gonna make it a poll. I was never in one of these friend groups where we would always joke about like being gay and like, oh, I grabbed your dick, you're gay, and like, oh, I'm gonna show you my ass, I'm gonna wave my. I don't know if like I'm the weird one. But that was never, and I've been in multiple different friend groups over the period of my life, and that was never a thing that we did. I don't know if that's more of a sports thing or like a frat thing, but I'm going to put up a poll, ask if you guys have been in friend groups like that.
This kind of shit with women. You think I'm going to have it with you? Like, I'll call you back when I'll call you back. Okay? No nagging. If I want to be nagged, I'd have gotten married. Again, I wouldn't do this for a woman. So just don't be so clingy. How does your wife like West Virginia?
I think she likes it. I think
you like Green Acres. She wishes.
Shout out to Scientology, right? We should do a whole thing on that. What did you guys see the that documentary Going Clear about Scientology? Wild stuff. Hey, shout out to Josie with the super sticker. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So very, very much getting us started with our swoggle. Of course, every single donation comes with a treat for Morty, but we are now 1 out of 15, and YouTube might not count that, but I do. So we are $1 out of 50 and 1 out of 15. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Very, very, very much appreciated.
I think she likes it. You know, I think
you like Green Acres. She wishes
she wants to be in Montana.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Montana.
Anywhere. Actually, probably Wyoming. And she loves skiing, and I would love to go there as well. In fact, we looked there before coming to Western Maryland, but it's impractical to try and do an in-person news show from Wyoming or Montana.
I mean, people already complain about where his show is in West Virginia.
So
well, why is it any more impractical than West Virginia?
Because we're an hour from DC. So
Okay, so context. So my best friends in my 20s would slap each other in the balls and call each other those, or act like we're worshiping each other's asses and call them queer when they turned around. You might be gay, bro.
You land at Dulles and you're an hour and a half, and you're in the studio ready to go.
Right.
Yep, I looked at Maine too. You know, because we were like far away, middle of nowhere,
right,
safer, more secure, and
close enough.
We need the internet. So East Coast is best. Half the country lives on the East Coast.
Right.
So if we could, we would have done Wyoming, and then been skiing and farming and whatnot.
Well, this just goes to what I always say about politics, I think, which is that it's an outgrowth of personality. Obviously, your personality is you want to be remote. You're not a city guy, even though you're from Chicago. That's not your personality. I mean, you're a guy. West Virginia was not remote enough for you. You wanted someplace with an even bigger sky. Montana, eventually. Wyoming.
I like that. A bigger sky. I want to go somewhere there's a bigger sky. I like that. Like I said, my best friend, we got that one. The guy doing the gay stuff would act offended by the person they were doing it to. Yeah, I never got it. Yep, exactly. Rejection. Dilly to all the straight guys. We're just joking. We're just joking, man. I'm just joking about grabbing your dick. All right. Just said, I wish Tim could put his dirty ass shoe away from Bill's little bar. I mean, hey. These are, fresh looking shoes. I think they're pretty clean. And Bill Maher is kind of a dirty little dude himself. So, whatever. Shout out to TV Viewerski. Welcome to the party. Very good to see you, sir. I'll leave it. Welcome. Nick said, Quantex will have told me the same thing, man. Oh.
You wanted someplace with an even bigger sky. Montana, eventually. Wyoming.
I think eventually, for us, it's...
I'm a suburban guy. Like, I grew up in the suburbs. I never liked living in New York City. I know it's a great city, and I enjoy going there a few times a year in the spring and the fall when the weather's nice, and I know a lot of people, and of course, it's the greatest. But I never enjoyed being there. I like
being there. I just want to be able to, I need my car. That is a huge thing in terms of just existing. I need to be, it's like a safety. It's like a home base away from home. Living in central Jersey, the suburbs, you leave your front door and you go to your car, then you drive. Everywhere has a parking lot. And you walk from the parking lot to the front door, and you go back to your car. You don't have to be out in the elements. And for most of the year, the weather is not very nice. I mean, even when it's hot in the summer, it's not very nice either. But especially the winters. So I need my car. That's the thing. I don't mind if it's a city-esque, if it's a more urban area, but I need my car and my parking lot.
Like the suburbs. That's what's just my personality.
I know. I agree.
Maybe that's why I'm sort of like somebody who both sides can talk to, because I'm not exactly a city dweller, but I'm also don't want to live in the middle of bumfuck.
You know what's fascinating is my neighborhood from Chicago turned red, and
Yeah.
so my audience, the biggest demographic is location-wise is Chicago.
Yeah, that's I like that phrase. I'd never heard that before. I like it.
And it's a weird position to be in because to see Chicago's liberal. My neighborhood was by the Midway Airport, and it's a lot of firefighters and cops.
Yeah.
And it's largely like Polish immigrant and then like white working class and Hispanic. And it flipped for Trump in Chicago. And I think
some parts of the Bronx too.
Oh wow. I think my politics are like, if you were, I'm like a Chicago liberal, but the way things have gone, especially with like the woke stuff, this is where I end up in this position, and so does my neighborhood. I think it's interesting to see my neighborhood reflective of my politics and vice versa.
I think the phrase I was using last year was aggressively non-common sense or uncommonsensical. And it's like
That's the Democrats. Aggressively nonsensical.
Accent aggressively. I don't think the woke people who have the vast amount of energy really in the Democratic Party understand why the people vote against them. And it's like, because if you add up like how many people are really affected by some of the aggressively uncommon sense things, it's probably not that many.
You had a great bit on that.
Yeah.
Why are you pandering to 400 people?
Of course. Okay. But
because those 400 people are really, really loud and really good at making it seem like they're more like 4 million.
Add up these things and, men competing in women's sports and like just too much indoctrination of children with sexual ideas that they're too young to understand. Like when you add up all these things that get in the media a lot, it paints a picture, not a wrong picture, in the mind of the average voter that, yeah, maybe policy-wise, I would do better under the Democrats or Bernie Sanders. But these other people just seem fucking crazy. They seem like committed to just going to absurd lengths just for shits and giggles, just for the fuck of it. Just this.
And I think that is a reaction to owning the libs. And now they're like, we want to own the cons. We want to own MAGA. We want to own. And it's like, it was not anymore necessarily, but the own the libs thing was kind of organic in the sense that like we're just exposing your own stupid ideas. Trying to go, and what Bill is talking about is more virtue signaling. Hey, shout out to Zippy, DSM Lee. Welcome to the party. So progressivism is post-liberal, and it's destroying liberalism for 200-ish years. It's progress to the authoritative state. Well said. Coming in with some happy thoughts, right? Welcome to the party, brother.
Bizarre attachment to things that are just ridiculous.
I think it's to hate the other side.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's certainly what the other side does. They call it making you cry your liberal tears.
Oh, yeah.
The entire policy.
But again, what is it that, the meme of liberal tears, what were they crying over? They weren't crying over things that were worthy of crying over. They were crying over, oh no, Donald Trump won. And then even this recent election, I'm going to wake up a slave. Like, what? What? That's why it's funny, because you're crying over something ridiculous. When you try to twist it and go back the other way, and we have serious issues that I am, let's take the trans and the kids thing, where it's like, no, that's a serious issue that I am very much genuinely concerned about. And you're like, oh, you just it doesn't work the same way, because you have to manufacture a way to turn my position into something silly when your position was inherently something silly.
Well, not always. Now, there are some things that have different motivations. I know you're involved with the tariff debate.
Oh, yeah.
Because, that works both ways. Sometimes free trade does hurt people.
Yep.
And that's why there are tariff. Trump is not the first person to advocate tariffs. He's just the first person to do it in this kind of crazy, haphazard way.
Like so many other things, most of which have turned out really, really, really well.
I agree. I think that, when he announced selective tariffs, I was like, all right, let's go. Then when he announced universal tariffs, I was like, I don't know if that makes sense. What is he doing? And I'm, but I'm not I think one of the problems that we've seen over the past several years with Trump is the immediate assumption that that he's a crazy person all the time. And so the only thing I can say is, well, look, I vote for the guy. I think this is probably doesn't make sense to me, but I'll see what happens and we'll see if it makes sense. Selective tariffs, I think, do make sense. But I do think that the way the Democratic Party has handled opposition has guaranteed the kind of Trumpian politics.
Yep, it's all a reaction. Shout out to Buzz. Welcome to the party. Very good to see you. We also got our boy Matthew King in the building, talking about TV shows from before. So I can't think of a single TV show from my youth with a powerful or manly father figure. They were all idiots or lazy bums. I mean, definitely, this is more so with like the sitcom, blueprint. That's the doofy dad. I mean, you could think about, the first thing that comes to my head is Mad Men, where like that, he was meant to be a strong, powerful man. But that being said, that was shown in a negative light. And yeah, it's just always been the default that men are bad on TV and in movies. Just always. So never forgot that Tim got his come up from Occupy Wall Street. Yep. Liberal as liberal could be. Welcome to the party, guys.
Opposition has guaranteed the kind of Trumpian politics.
Well, I'm sure you heard about my little trip to the White House.
Absolutely.
And
very impressive.
Thank you. And the thing that upset the far left so much, these same people who believe in the crazy things I was just mentioning, and the ones who really hate me, they really found a new reason to hate me, because when I came back and gave my report about it, among the things I said, to your point about everything is crazy, was, I think, word for word, a crazy person doesn't live in the White House. Mm-hmm. A person who plays a crazy person on TV lives in the White House.
Yeah.
And they found that very triggering. But again,
yeah, they didn't like that. I mean, neither did I, because it's like, no, that is the person. Oh, I am just realizing my thing here is covering the chat. That's annoying. All right, I'll have to fix that. But
as I said many times during that piece, I'm just going to tell you the truth. I didn't vote for him. I think we all know that. I went right back to being as tough on him as I ever had been. So I wasn't like seduced, but that was my estimation. Again, to your point about, is he just crazy? When you meet him in person and spend that kind of time, and he's not on his his attack mode thing, he does not strike you as a crazy person, or a person who doesn't listen or can't hear things. Again, they were very mad at me for saying this, but that's what happened. And I am not a liar. That's my main bond with the audience. So even if I offended some people by telling the truth, in the long run, that's what I do. And they,
What I saw,
essentially, every man on TV is portrayed as Biden. All right, so I think I changed the setting. Let me know if the subscribe now thing goes away. I guess I don't really need that. I threw that on like when the channel started. And it's always just been there. I'm realizing now it's also covering all my follow me stuff down there, but let me know.
Long run, that's what I do. And they,
What I saw in 2020, I was not going to vote for Trump. I'll never vote for Trump. I don't like Trump. And I donated the max to Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard. And my position, my whole thought process was, the Democrats are going crazy, and we need the moderate, sane Democrats to maintain control of this party and stop the insanity.
Correct.
And they lost. And so then Trump put out his statement in around August saying, we're going to ban DEI in government contracting. We're going to do these things, blah, blah. No new wars was big for me. I'm a very, anti-interventionist for a lot of reasons. And so I said, I guess I'm voting for Trump. Instantly, it was like the liberals, even YouTube, they all said, we're going to move your name over to this list. I kid you not.
Yes, unfortunately, I don't know what is going on with PayPal. They said, because my my real name was on it, they said to change it to a business account. So I did that, and then it's not working. So I'm trying to get that fixed. But for the time being, we are the Indian Jesus on Venmo and Cash App if you would like to donate.
They all said, we're going to move your name over to this list. I kid you not. There's representatives at YouTube. They told me straight up that the liberal rep was no longer representing me, and they were switching me to a conservative rep. It was the weirdest thing. Yeah. And I'm like, It's not that I like who Trump is or that I'm like thinking that conservatives have a good policy. I'm pro-choice. The issue is that you can look at it right now. There's no charismatic leaders. There's no front runners. There's no policy position. It seems like the only thing they have is the right is bad, Trump is bad. And so I'm asking, like, what are our plans?
No, they have Democrats have policy positions on everything, and many of them are, I think, preferable to Republican policy positions. Number one being they concede elections. That's kind of a big one with me. They listen to what courts say.
Do they though?
I don't know about that.
Maybe when it goes in their favor.
You don't think they listen to what courts say? I mean,
so Joe Biden,
I mean, that's
ignored the court rulings twice on forgiving student loans, and then tried to decree the Equal Rights Amendment.
That's true. That's true.
But I'm not saying to defend Trump. I'm just saying, like,
Well, I said, I'm actually worried about the Dems, as you should be. If they don't step up, we are all fucked. You don't have to like them, but without them, we have what? A one-party system, aka an autocracy. And I don't disagree. I mean, I think obviously what would happen is just that everything that is now considered right of center would then, the overturn window would just shift. But yeah, it's not necessarily a good thing. Not necessarily a good thing, just because we don't like them.
Jobs today, of course, the Republicans, that just works for them, because there are issues like what you mentioned, which is not untrue, where it's so easy for them to go, well, they did this, so we're going to do it 5 times worse.
Mm-hmm.
And then they do. But there are some like that. But there's one that has no fuzz on it, and that's elections. When Democrats lose elections, it's over the next day.
Yeah, because there's no argument to be made. When you lose, you fucking lose.
Kamala Harris,
Al Gore?
Hillary Clinton.
Not Hillary Clinton.
Just
not Al Gore.
Remember Hillary Clinton was like, I don't remember exactly what she said, but before the 2016 election, she said something about like how there would be no way that he could win.
Al Gore was not Al Gore doing that.
Notice how he conveniently skipped right over what Tim said and went to Al Gore.
Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton.
Not Hillary Clinton.
Just
not Al Gore.
Al Gore.
Al Gore when
convenient to pick on Al Gore and not Al Gore. And yeah, never forget, Hillary started the whole birther thing. Yep.
That was not Al Gore doing that. That election was obviously decided by 537 votes. There was an absolute, when it's that close, there should be a recount. And whether that recount went the right way, we'll never know, because that state was run by Katherine Harris and Jeb Bush.
Okay, fair, but then don't say that we just accept the results. That's what you said.
There's a sorry to interrupt, but there's a really good, I guess, I don't know if you call it a philosophical point that I've noticed that I think you're experiencing right now is I'm 39. So you lived through a lot of these administrations and these political cycles.
Yeah.
And you have experiences that I don't even know they exist.
Yeah, but you know what? I didn't live through Lincoln, but I know about it.
Sure. My point is,
not as well as someone who lived through the Lincoln presidency, which is Tim's point.
My experience in politics has been the Democrats have challenged more than Republicans. To be fair,
Trump challenged the court?
Challenged the elections more than the Republicans have, in extreme ways.
That's ridiculous.
So, but perhaps because you're older than me and you've seen more than I have.
Again, there are history books, there's newspapers.
I know.
You don't know something only because you lived through it. I know about the French Revolution also.
My point is,
not as well as the people who lived through the French Revolution, which is Tim's point.
You could know about this.
Indeed.
This is something that people your age say all the time, and I've made fun of it before. Like, it's this, like, if I wasn't alive for it, it didn't happen. I don't have to know about it.
But that's not
what he's saying.
Okay, but
I'm saying that in 2016, I didn't vote for either Trump or Hillary, and then I got 3 years of Trump is working for the Russians.
He was not working for the Russians.
Easy to say now.
Jonathan Chait went on MSNBC and said he may have been a Soviet asset since the 80s.
Well,
and so for me, I'm like, I'm out. This is crazy. And so, like, understand, and I'm not saying you're wrong about history. I'm saying that experiencing a political cycle over years is different from reading the condensed history books, which of course I do. So to live through 4 years of a president their term every single moment. The history books gloss over most of those experiences that we don't have as young people. So I have people on my show who are 25, and one of the people who works for us says nothing ever happens. She's 24, and this is like a Gen Z thing. Nothing ever happens. And I said, "Are you kidding? The past 10 years have been nothing but happenings."
Yeah.
Here's the issue: when she was 14, she wasn't paying attention to politics. When she was around 20 years old and started, this was the natural state of politics in her experience. So this is basic. This is normal. And
just constant chaos.
For me, it's crazy. And I think for you, it's crazy. But they grew up in this and they've normalized it. So my view is this, not to say that you're wrong, obviously. My point is, when I watched the Democrats accuse Trump and Manafort and Carter Page and all of these things, especially when they fabricated evidence against Carter Page, I'm just like, wow, I can't believe the Democrats are going to this length to deny an election.
You're watching a little too much Fox News or somebody who's slanting this a certain way. I mean, Paul Manafort was sharing polling information with a GRU agent.
And you know how they found out about that?
How did they find out about that?
Ukrainian government officials shared it with the Democratic Party.
So?
Politico reported that.
Oh, Bill, I thought you knew all this stuff, but you both lied for that. And you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
So you have this Ukrainian interference in our election as reported by Politico. And I look at that and I go, wow, the Ukrainian government sent incriminating evidence to the Democrats. Crazy story. Then they claim
But it was true.
And indeed. And the issue is, why wasn't that a scandal that the Ukrainians were interfering in the election?
Let's not get, because this is a friendly thing. Let's not get into the weeds on like the Russia thing. First of all, it's like
bitching out. Shout out to Dylan Soup. Welcome to the party. I guess I still, I guess the subscribe now thing is still there, but in the future, it won't cover up the chat box. Welcome. And of course, guys, yes, the PayPal is down, but don't forget, we still got Venmo and CashApp. And of course, our super chats and Rumble rants. Let's feed the puppy. Welcome to the party, Dylan.
Thing. Let's not get into the weeds on like the Russia thing. First of all, it's like 5 years old, so people are bored with it. Okay, but I'll just say this in general. It'd be hard to argue with it, I think, but I'll just say it, and maybe we can just move on. Whatever it was, I don't think Trump was a Russian asset. But Don Jr. at one point said, or maybe it was Eric, we do get a lion's share of our to the company from the Russians. So there was obviously a lot of involvement with the Russians. Trump was asked at his first press conference, and he said, I have no dealings with the Russians. It's a total, complete lie. They had nothing. That's not illegal. But it's just
right. But this is a perfect example of when we say you don't take Trump literally, you take him seriously. And so, in the context of being a Russian asset, if he's speaking hyperbolically and saying I have no connection with them, then we can understand that as no nefarious connection with them. It's not like he doesn't know who Putin is. And to think that that's what he's trying to say would be kind of silly. I definitely will put it on Trump for saying it in that way. But this is why we don't take Trump literally. We just take him seriously.
It just looks suspicious to say, I don't know anything about the Russia. I have no idea. And then I don't know anybody who's talking to the Russians. Everybody in the administration, Michael Flynn was prosecuted for it, was talking to the Russians. He said on TV, Russia, if you're listening, I want your help with something. Okay, whether you think that's good or bad, it was completely unprecedented. So the idea that he should not have been investigated for, there's a lot of smoke here with Trump and Russia. To me, okay, I'm sure they overdid it as everybody overdoes everything. But there was a lot of smoke, enough to investigate, and what he was asking another country to do in our elections publicly was unprecedented. We always had one rule in this country: we're going to go against each other. Yes, Republican, Democrat, we'll do whatever it takes, but we don't bring in ringers from outside.
Ukraine.
Yeah, it's like everything that he's saying, it's in a vacuum. This applies for this particular issue. But if something else, well, that's different. That's completely different. No principles, just positions. In Soviet Russia, Trump. No, I don't know. I was there. Halfway there.
From outside.
Ukraine.
What they brought that in the same election?
I forgot.
Saying?
Yeah, I forgot the name of the woman. This is on Politico. You can just read their story. It was I can't remember the guy's name who reported it.
No, it's possible that again, there's always some version of it on the other side. It's just not as egregious, I think.
You know, they're accusing me of working for the Russians now, and this is, or they tried. And so here's the story. I get contacted by a conservative personality.
Lauren Chen.
I've got 3 shows that I host, several that I have staff that host. One of them is called The Culture War.
Right.
We produced it for 2 years, Friday mornings, similar to this, sometimes debates. And I was reached out by like 3 different companies who said, we want to license something you're doing. And I said, we do our own internal ad sales. We don't need a license. Some offers were made. Some of them were really good. And I said, I'm not really interested because the ad sales I can generate exceed your licensing. So I get reached out by this company in Tennessee from a well-known, prominent conservative personality who works for one of the big companies and said, we've secured an investor. We want to license the show. We negotiated terms. Lawyer negotiated terms, market rate, non-exclusive license for distribution. They could sell the ads on the show. I get the money, the licensing fee, which basically, you know, I can choose to grow the show for 2 years or just license it now and take the money.
You sound like you're a naturally savvy businessman.
Maybe. Well, this didn't work.
I mean, it's just basic numbers. If I'm gonna make more here with ad sales gets me this much money, and you're gonna pay me this much money. I'm gonna go with this number.
Out so well for me because what happened was at the end of last year, the DOJ indicted some random, I say random because they're not personalities, some Russians who were apparently in some Eastern European country, claiming that they were funneling money illicitly into this conservative company in Nashville to then promote Russian propaganda or something. The narrative now is Tim Pool was prosecuted for working for the Russians. The real story is the DOJ launched an indictment and dropped it almost immediately with no evidence, accusing a conservative personality of illicitly taking money from the Russians without evidence, destroyed the company, destroyed their lives, and then impugned the honor of anybody who had done any license agreements with a Nashville-based company.
Well, you really hit people's nerves.
But I didn't do anything.
And that's kind of, I want to ask about, so we have this poll, have you been in a friend group? And apparently 2/3 of you have. So, I mean, maybe I'm the weird one that's not trying to grab my friends' dicks and call them gay. But anyway, the poll that I want to ask you guys about is Tim guilty of working with, we'll say, the Russians? Well, we'll leave it like that. We'll leave it like that, and we'll see what you guys have to say about that. Fuck. Forgot this. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Here, not smooth as hell, not smooth at all, but that is totally fine. If you guys are enjoying the show, the party rages on 24/7 over in our Discord. The link is pinned to the top of the chat and is absolutely free to join 24/7. We're in there hanging out, having a great time. And guys, it is absolutely free. However, if you are a member of this channel here on YouTube, you can scroll right below that video and hit that join button. Starts at $2.99. There's a few different tiers, but $2.99 will get you in. It gets you members only live streams here on YouTube, all that other good stuff. But it opens up the full Discord server. So we've got the free chat that is open to anyone. Anybody can join and talk. But as you can see, that is just one of our channels. There's a bunch of different channels here, including our Disciple chat for members only, our Word of the Day watch party, where we're talking about all this stuff. And of course, we have the voice channel here, where we are hanging out at this moment. Shout out to everybody in the Discord server. Say hello and tell them to come and join. There you go, guys. Simple as that. See you there. All right. And, well, we got a hungry dance. Morty is hungry. And, guys, don't forget that if you join if you hit that free link at the top of the chat, it is there right now. If you join the Discord tonight, you will get a free pass to the after party. As soon as we are done here, we are headed right over there. Come on and join us.
Company.
Well, you really hit people's nerves.
But I didn't do anything.
I tell you what I'm not going to do is show up unannounced at your door in the middle of the night. Hey, Tip, it'll be like Sunny on the Causeway, you know, it'll be the end of Bonnie and Clyde. I'll just be like riddled with,
How did that come from working with Russians?
Boy,
it's a crazy
you got to
story.
take it as kind of a compliment. People care.
Yeah, that's true. If they're not, I don't know.
But does it make your wife nervous? Does she?
Whatever you got to tell yourself, bro. Whatever you got to tell yourself. If you like grabbing dicks, that's okay. Just tell people you like grabbing dicks.
Is she like, get out of the game, man?
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Get out of the game.
Yep.
Really?
Uh-huh.
And what do you say when she says, get out of the game?
Yes.
You do? You're going to get out of the game?
So
no.
Yeah, last October. Wow.
Scoop.
I basically
not a scoop.
Was just fed up
with the game,
with politics.
The game.
Just absolutely. And I said, before I started doing my nightly show, I work 16 hours a day plus.
I was going to say you got so much going on. Maybe just cut back. Less hours, more guns.
Maybe. Here's the problem.
Bill is such a tryhard. More guns. Yeah, I know you're into that stuff. Matthew said, I just like talking about grabbing dicks, not actually grabbing dicks, though. Whatever you say.
And I know that you can relate to this. I've got employees. I got staff.
Do you know you can have a harpoon legally in some states in this country?
I like that.
In case you're attacked by a whale.
But if I stop, then I got to fire everybody.
Well,
that's absolutely true. There's, as we see with the comments section, you can't just switch in personalities. And even looking back at the Daily Show, when these shows are built on a personality, that is what people come for. It's not the structure of the show. It's not anything but that personality. If randomly, I just started doing the show and someone else was here. Okay, maybe some of you would like it and some of you wouldn't, but most of you like, what is this? This is not what I showed up for. And most of you probably wouldn't even give it a chance. I don't know if I've watched, I definitely watched one Reagan video on the comment section, but I'm just not interested. I liked Brett Cooper, and now she does one of those, she used to do like a video about a thing, maybe 2 videos a day or whatever it was. And that video would be, 10, 20 minutes about a particular thing. And now she switched on her channel to doing every day. She just does like a 30-minute video where she covers a bunch of topics. And I'm not really into that style. I don't like that. I like make a video on the thing, because when you have, especially within 30 minutes, if you're covering 7 different topics, then we're not really getting into any of them. So I'm going to have to look them up from somebody else anyway. So I may as well just, hear it from them. I'm okay with Phil hosting Timcast, but not Libby. Definitely not Libby. I would be okay with that. But even as is, I already don't. I've already moved away from listening to the show as it is. That being said, it is because of Tim, so maybe this would be a good switch in my opinion. But I in terms of the rest of the audience, I think they are there for Tim.
Noble.
Yeah, Bog said, when you do politics every day, it gets rough. Every so often, I snap and walk away for a bit. Last time was October 7th. I knew I needed to tune out and find a base before the news waterboarded me. Yeah, you got to take some breaks or you're going to burn out.
Well, that's a noble thing. And I've heard it before from people. And I always think it's bullshit. It's like you're hiding behind that. You really want to keep working because you know why? Like you achieved a big thing. You're a big success. No one saw it coming, including you, right?
I'm really
did you think you were going to be this when you were 15?
In some form, yeah.
Oh, really?
This is something I'm not sure if this is a common thing for people who are doing stuff like this or people in general, but I've always felt like in the least arrogant way I can think of it. I've always felt like people are going to remember me. And I don't know if that is, again, maybe it's wishful thinking, maybe it's arrogance, whatever. But I've always felt like I've got something to do here. And I mean, we're like I've been telling you guys, we are way closer to the beginning than we are to the end. So it might turn into something completely different. But y'all gonna remember my name. Y'all children will know my name.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a
Well, good.
Y'all in the ground floor.
piece of shit.
But doing this exact thing
Uh,
or close to it?
close to it.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to be a comedian when I was
Wait, his 10-minute videos are too drawn out for you? How so?
before I was 10.
Yeah.
And then I imagined, I mean, in my day it was Johnny Carson. So I imagined being that, but
That's gonna be for anything right of center. That's just what you can expect.
it morphed into more, no, I think a political talk show, but also a gregarious, charming host would be, a great combination.
I think I think people who claim otherwise are lying. Not always. But come on, you didn't try your hardest and grind your fingers to the bone to get here thinking you weren't going to do it,
Well, exactly.
You
But
did it
I'm
every day.
saying, like, I'm sure you're doing this and to keep your staff employed, but really you want to do it because, and why wouldn't you? You're 39. If you quit now, man, first of all, you're going to regret it because, once you quit, can you get it back? Yeah. But
why do you want it back? Why do you need it back? The only reason to have it is the luxury that it affords you. And if you've said, essentially, like, it's not like people who care don't know what Tim is about. His opinions are out there. He continues to give them, which are, people like. I'm not saying that he should stop. But like this notion of, oh, you got to get it back. I think the whole point is that he doesn't really want it now. So why would he want it back?
well, you're going to regret it because, once you quit, can you get it back? Yeah. But the audiences move on quickly.
Yep.
Quickly.
They do now.
2.4, baby.
Now too.
No, I'm saying, well, they always have.
Yeah.
Like when you go, you think you're so indispensable, and this is anybody, and you're not, because there's always people wanting to take your place. I mean,
it happens no matter what.
You could be at the top of the heap. You'll be.
That's so weird to me. Because, like, so you like the 30-minute videos that cover like 7 different topics. That's crazy to me because I feel like if you are covering something and it takes 2 minutes to get through the actual story, and you're not, let's say you're only adding 2 minutes of commentary, then that is way less about what you have to say and more about what the thing is. And so in that case, why are you going to other people instead of just reading the news? If you want just the news, then read the news. The point of commentary and punditry is to get somebody else's opinion on the news.
Just me sitting here right now, with you, you have like, I would say that real time from my circle, I don't know, but I feel like it's the most consequential political show.
I appreciate that because the
most consequential? The most consequential political show. I don't know. Moxie, yeah, I like to cut to the opinion part most of the time. I form my own opinions, but you don't like the opinions. I'm confused. Yeah, I never really got into like I've recently followed one of the clip channels for Asmongold, and I tried Stick, Sex, and Hammer, but not my vibe. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. Weird.
I circle. I don't know, but I feel like it's the most consequential political show.
I appreciate that because it is, even though the problem is that the most influential media is controlled by that far left that hates me.
Yeah.
So they will never give it up to me.
But they will
never write about it, say that. Nobody ever covers it. It's just like their thing is like, even though the audience is always there and almost always in much bigger numbers than the things they do cover.
One of the biggest videos we have, I think, is us talking about what you said. But here's
I said that it means so much to me because it's
not always good things we're saying.
Yeah, but at least you're watching,
right?
And you're allowed to be wrong.
Yeah, I say similarly, but my point is like there are people that I bring on my show who are like in their 20s. I'm like, man, I've been watching you for years.
Yeah,
and I'm like, one day you will be sitting where I am, and I'll be retired, and that's the way life goes.
I mean, I don't even care if everybody agrees all the time. It's just that it's about, and I think you would say the same for your show, it's about taking you seriously. It's about having the credibility to have them listen to whatever you're saying. And then you can say your thing. But usually they know, well, maybe he's not completely wrong about that one.
You know what I'm really interested in is Real Clear Politics put out this aggregate polling by decade age. I don't want to
say boomers about to get some flack.
Demographic, because it was like 18 to 29 and it was like 30 to 39.
Yeah.
And only one bracket was anti-Trump, and it was 70 plus. And then I think
I saw that.
Gen X was a tie. And then there's I really want to talk to you about this too. There's
Box. That's the point. That's the whole point. So I think maybe you just don't like those people, because if you like what I'm doing here, this is just a longer form version of what they do. Instead of taking the clips and talking about the clips, we're just doing it the whole thing. And so, maybe it's a style thing, but it sounds to me like it's just the people that you don't like, because if you like those people, then you'd be there listening and enjoying.
Saying that Gen Z is becoming more Christian.
Yep.
And moving to the right.
Heard that too.
I'm wondering what's going to happen in 10 years. The boomers are going to be moving on, passing on. I'm not trying to be crass, but it's true. Or retiring.
You could say dead.
They'll be dead.
Yeah.
And what happens to politics in this country?
Not me, haters.
Bill's going to live forever.
Fucking haters and clickbaiters.
Unfortunately, I have a feeling Bill's going to be around for a long, long time.
The booze is going to make you young.
Yep.
I mean,
what
do
happens?
I look like I'm at death's door?
No, you look pretty good.
I mean, do I act like it?
Definitely.
I've never missed a show, except the two they forced me to miss when I had COVID, wink, wink. They forced me because, of course, I could have contaminated. The entire city could have died.
I think I would have died, to be honest.
You what?
I got real sick.
Pussy.
Yep. And then Joe Rogan saved my life.
How?
So,
ivermectin?
No, well, technically. So I had called the hospital because my temperature was low and I was shaking really bad, and I was like really bad pain. I wouldn't say the worst pain I've ever had.
Okay, why are you in such bad health to begin with? Because unless you're in bad health to begin,
I was fatter.
That's it. I always said that about COVID. Who does it kill? Fat people and very old people. I'm sorry, but that's just the truth. That's just the truth. No, obviously it could kill anybody and blah, blah, blah. And we should protect, the most vulnerable. But that's who it killed. That's what bugged me about it. Like all of our medical profiles are unique. That's why I don't like one size fits all diagnoses.
And then, of course, Andrew Cuomo decided to put sick people in the nursing homes. Shout out to equality and deference because vagina. Welcome to the party. It said liked and shared. Thank you so very, very much. You guys know how much that stuff helps the channel. And it doesn't even matter if you think anybody is going to click on the link that you share. Just by you telling YouTube, I want more people to see this, they will show it to more people. Thank you. Welcome to the party. Gonzags, Rogan admits he likes Jesus, and now the left are calling him a fundamentalist Christian. That escalated quickly. That was I think that was Kyle, right? I'm pretty sure that was Kyle Kalinske, because I saw that. I'm pretty sure. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Okay. Now we'll go to his channel. If not, yeah. Joe Rogan is turning into a fundamentalist Christian.
So one of the things about Joe Rogan that made him such a powerhouse is that people seem to like his childlike curiosity. And I do mean that descriptor in the most positive way possible. And I felt this too, being on his show 5-6 times, however many I was on it. That
you're speaking positively of Joe again. Okay, I thought you hated him. Rhea, she doesn't like me because I don't like her, and she needs to be liked, so she doesn't come around anymore. But she's probably still watching.
He does, he really is inquisitive. He always wants to go deeper. He has this curiosity on a plethora of issues where he wants to understand them, right? And so that was one of the...
There we go, Nick. That's how you can support. Obviously, money helps, guys. Money helps. But if you can't, then that is totally fine. This is a free show. That is the way that you can pay me.
Things that made his show big in the first place. But what's happened in recent years is he's functionally become the exact opposite kind of person. He is no longer curious. He is no longer interested. any guest he has on, he goes right back to his standard rants about the left being authoritarian,
I can't really disagree.
wokeness being bad, COVID conspiracy theories being correct, Donald Trump triggering the liberals and ha he he, isn't that funny? Isn't that awesome? He's like a comedian, bro. Comedian brains are just different, man. We're just different breeds, bro. It's all the same conversations recycled over and over and over. And fundamentally, he has on a bunch of right-wing bullshitters. He himself has become a liberal, just staring at what's now a mostly right-wing audience. So,
yeah, but that's in regards
about 5 years ago.
One of the things that I really enjoyed about your book was when you explained to people that everyone who practices a religion is an atheist. You're just an atheist in regards to Zeus or Apollo.
Or the 999 other gods.
Yes, right. And that's a home run with this argument.
Yes. Because just go one god further.
Yes, but that really is a home run, because this concept of, me and my friends jokingly would always say praise Odin when anything would happen that was pretty good or cool.
Yes.
We say praise Odin, and I started doing it online, and people really got into saying praise Odin about certain things.
I rather like that, yeah.
Some people got mad at me. They actually got mad that you were mocking
Praise Columbadrum. If you know, you know.
Christianity by saying praise.
Of course
Odin.
you are. Why not?
I wasn't even really. I was just having fun.
Yes.
I was having fun because Odin seemed like a cool god. It's an old school god. It's the god of the Vikings.
Douglas Adams wrote a lovely book called The Long Dark Tea Time of the Sun.
Okay, so Kyle doesn't like that, and I guess he's got another clip here.
Like this. Take note of how different this sounds. Ready? Here we go.
Well, space is the ultimate who the fuck knows, because we can only see so far. We see so far, but even so far is only so far.
Well, and then they're saying like it's always expanding, which that can't be true, because like what is it expanding into? If space is space, if they're like, oh, it's like blowing up a balloon where everything's okay, but you're blowing up a balloon in a room,
right?
So what's the room that you're blowing the balloon into? And then that's in a bigger room, and then that's in
right.
this.
And then there's the concept that it's actually finite. It's not infinite. And it's some sort of donut shape. It like goes back around eventually.
But then who made all that?
Right?
Like, is there a God? Did God make this,
or is God the universe?
Yeah, but then who made God? And then that bothers me.
Why would that bother you? By the way, I think this guy's a Christian. He's had a bunch of like weird Christian apologetics people on lately. That, to me, that's the trump card, no pun intended, of people. Oh, the world is so complex, so you needed a God to create it because the complexity is too much for it to just happen naturally. That's the argument.
The God of the Gaps argument. But yeah, I mean, this is what we've seen. A lot of moving towards opening up to different types of ideologies and thoughts. And because Kyle is one of those atheists, then opening himself up to Christianity is not only a bad thing, but is not curious anymore.
Well, you just got to go.
That's why I don't like one size fits all diagnoses.
They were banning people off social media, shutting down anybody who brought it up. It was a weird time, and it still is weird. And there's
weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
So what are you going to do if you quit the game? What are you going to do? Be a farmer?
Yep, the infinite regress. Going to the Christians don't usually ask who made God and say that this idea bothers them. What the fuck, Kyle? Yeah, I mean, number one, it is it is something that should bother you if you are either side of it. If you're talking about God and trying to understand where God came from or where the universe came from, then it is a common phrasing so that bothers me to mean that I don't have the answer. But to your point, Guamtech, that's not usually the way that it is articulated by a Christian. So just throwing bullshit out there. Just throwing bullshit. That's all he does anymore.
Be a rancher?
Yeah, maybe. Well, so I'm not. I mean,
really?
it's not just about that. There's people who, they have livelihoods here. They've moved to the area, they're from Maryland, DC area. But it's, the conversation I've had with Allison is I could stop doing the nightly show, which currently it's typically the second biggest live stream news. It's the biggest live stream news podcast, but Steven Crowder is bigger than us, but he's comedy news. If we want to lump all together, we're number two. And we both feel guilty about saying, stop doing this show with a massive audience so that we can go and have, like, we're rich. We can go do whatever we want. We can just go skiing wherever we want. We can fly to South America and go skiing any time of the year. We feel
go for it, bro. Go for it.
Guilty about that. We both kind of agree on it.
It's so fucked up. Why do you feel guilty?
I don't know. I think it's like,
just basic empathy for other people, the people that work for you, nothing that Bill Maher would have any idea about.
We were afforded this luxury and comfort
Oh, for fuck's sake, get over it. Just enjoy it. Christ, you could be like fucking in the hospital.
Different.
You could be in the hospital with leukemia or some shit. You're you're lucky in some ways. You also worked for it, and this is your fate, and you have it. And trust me, you're not going anywhere. You can go through these permutations in your mind, but at the end of the day, something on your shoulder is going to say, you know what? Let's make hay while the sun shines, and then we can go skiing in South America.
I agree. I don't think Tim is going to leave for a while. I hate that. I mean, I hope you're joking when you say this, but it is often a real not insult, but negative thing whenever these people talk about the fact that they do have money. It is in the context of, this is why I'm not quitting. This is why I'm not taking, why I'm not doing rich stuff, because I want to stay here for you, the audience, and the people that work for me. What are we talking about? Bill's pulling a dad move right now. Hey, elders are always, you can always learn something from your elders.
You know what? Let's make hay while the sun shines, and then we can go skiing in South America. Because, you don't know how
somebody's triggered.
How long it's going to last, popularity. The more you get, the more you have in the bank. It's good. I mean, if you really skyrocket to ultimate sort of fame, people never forget you. I mean, look at Britney Spears. She hasn't put out a record in 20 years.
They won't let it go.
And people are still very interested. But
yeah, but also, would they be interested if she wasn't acting fucking insane all the time? I get the point, but
I think that's going away. Looking at everything you have, and you're talking about the Mets and all this stuff. I think because of there's two phenomena that I think are going to break this. One is the decentralization of media through the internet, but also the lack of new
Wait, break what?
Everybody wants to know what you think about things.
Good, thank you.
I don't, but it is true. I go to some of these media reporting websites and entertainment websites, and it's not just that Trump did something; it's how you thought about it.
Oh, good.
It's you, Ann Coulter, and Joe Rogan almost always.
Interesting.
I don't know that we have that in 10 or 20 years. So I'll break it down entertainment-wise.
Really, you don't think there'll always be people who
not
other
like
humans? What?
Not the way you guys are.
Yeah.
So Timcast IRL, we do maybe 700,000 to 800,000 viewers per night, which is nothing compared to where Anderson Cooper was 20 years ago. It's decentralizing, it's changing. And
right.
Yeah, exactly. I get Bill's point that, people have staying power if they make a big mark, but people don't really talk about Britney Spears because of music anymore.
So we have a big audience. People talk like, wow, you've got this really big show. And I'm like, yes, but there's 50 other shows now that are comparable.
And also, just to put it, okay, how many adults are there in America? About 280 million.
And
right?
Gen Alpha's tiny.
Okay, but I'm just saying, of all the adults who could be doing something, if it's 280 million and 700,000 to 800,000 are doing something, yeah, that's compared to how many it could be. To your point,
right?
Here, I said, Ann Coulter's still around. I mean, she's still alive. I know that much. I know she called. The last I heard from her, she was saying that she wouldn't vote for Vivek Ramaswamy because he was Indian. Ann Coulter, ladies and gentlemen.
Here's the other factor.
TV shows used to get a share, which is the percentage of there's a rating and a share.
Yeah.
One is the percentage of people who are doing anything. They could be watching TV, they could be masturbating, they could be playing tennis or ping pong, and the other is just a percentage of the people who are actually watching TV.
Yeah.
So a share is a smaller number because again, it's among the people who could be doing anything, and TV shows sometimes used to get a 40 share. 40, 40% of the country who could have been doing anything were watching the Wild Wild West. I mean, that is this is your point.
Exactly.
It's so much more bifurcated now.
So I'll give you an example. I was at a bar and I went to the jukebox and I put in Bohemian Rhapsody. And what happened?
We are the champions.
Everyone in the bar started singing. 100%.
Everybody knows that one.
The next song that came on, I didn't even know what it was. It was hip hop R&B.
Yo. have you guys seen what VO3 can do? There's like a joke of prompt theory. You know, we talk about things like I forget what directly it's referencing. Not string theory, but dead internet theory. The dead internet theory, where it's like most people are on the internet are fake people. And you know, mostly if you're talking to someone, then you know it's like, how do you know this is a real person? How do you know they're not a bot? Well, now we have this.
Is it crazy that we're just prompts?
This is AI video.
Is it crazy that we're just prompts?
No, not really.
Someone out there like just prompted one sentence. Now we're alive. Is that not crazy?
It was. Yeah, it is. I blame that person. I now have to pay taxes.
And that I mean, that was just one clip from but let's see what else because some of this stuff is a little bit more. I was like, where's the search for? Google VO. What have we got? Yeah. Oh, I saw this one.
Every time.
Oh, y'all gotta give.
What's one move with AI that makes haters go crazy every time?
Oh, y'all gotta give them that. This is wild. It's over. We are cooked on that thread. You get me?
What's one move with?
Yep. Oh, that's it. All right. Yeah, these are all completely AI.
We can talk.
No more silence.
Yes, we can talk.
We can talk.
We can talk.
We can talk with accents.
Oh, I think that would be marvelous.
Yes, it is very fun. But
Yes, it is very good.
It's very fun.
I can talk.
Yes.
We can talk.
Yes.
Yeah. We can talk.
We can talk.
We can talk.
Yes.
We can talk. No.
Yes.
We can talk as cartoons.
This is amazing.
Imagine all the narrative possibilities.
We can sing talk.
Let's talk.
So, what are we going to talk about now? What are we going to talk about now that we can talk?
I have no idea. What do you want to talk about?
Now that I can talk.
No. I don't know if I have something to say.
We can talk about how magical this is.
I'm a hallucination.
I want to say something important, something deep. The future is still in our hands.
That's cliche dialogue.
Let's not talk.
Insane, guys. Insane. All AI. All AI. Shout out to Babar the Elephant. Welcome to the party. Might be maybe looking for this one. What? Not sure what that means, but welcome to the party. And yeah, you can tell like it's still a little bit off.
We can talk.
No more silence.
Yes, we can.
If you look at like especially the more motion ones, the lips, it's not perfect. It's far from perfect. But you know, when we say far, we're talking about maybe a year. I was just before I heard about a Google VO. I was just talking about how eventually we'll have AI so good that they can redo the end of Game of Thrones and just like do 7 seasons of what was actually supposed to happen. So like here, this one you can tell is pretty bad with the actually we'll put the sound on. Both the sound and like look at her hands and arms, and then her face. It's very off.
Let's talk.
So
and like that, so it's far from perfect, but actors are done. Maher said, how soon until real mainstream awards are won by an AI film? I think, probably, like I said, probably a year or two. Yeah, middle management as well. Shout out to Indie Film. Welcome to the party. Very good to see you, sir. We were just taking a little side quest of this new Google VO3.
What are we going to talk about now? What are we going to talk about now that we can talk?
I have no idea. What do you want to talk about?
Now that I can talk.
No,
Yeah.
I don't know if I have something to say.
Insane. Insane. All right, dive back in.
100%.
Everybody knows that one.
The next song that came on, I didn't even know what it was. It was hip hop R&B. Everybody broke apart. And so,
oh yeah. So if you're just joining us, he was saying he was at a bar, played Bohemian Rhapsody, everyone was singing along, and then he played hip hop, and everybody broke apart.
Knows that one.
The next song that came on, I didn't even know what it was. It was hip hop R&B. Everybody broke apart. And so, back when we had very few radio stations and very few television channels, they had to be very selective about what they promoted. But they promoted to, like you said, like 40 million people. Who knows? So you had that time period. Now for us, I think that combined with the lack of new people. So
okay, yeah, we so only the mods can drop links, but if you have like the search term, we could check that out. Or if you want to join the free Discord, it's pinned at the top of the chat. You can leave it right in there.
So Gen Alpha is about 40 million, and they're expecting that if we
what age are we talking about?
This is 0 to I think 13 years old.
So the one coming up.
Yeah. So Gen Z just finished. Or Gen Z finished a while ago. I think it was like 2010 or something.
Just finished? Just finished what? School?
No. 2012. I think Gen Z ended.
Gen Z just began.
Oh, in terms of being born. Gotcha.
And
Gen Z is like 97 to 2012, I think. Yeah. Gen Alpha is 2013 to 2025.
Oh, okay. Right. So we're going from when they're born.
Right.
Yeah, right. So we don't really count what they're thinking until they're at least a teenager.
So
right.
The most impactful political show in existence. Okay.
Gen Alpha is 40 million.
Right.
It's expected to be between 40
So
and 48.
millennials ended at the end. They're like from 1980 to
1996, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. 81 and 96. It depends on which chart you use.
Right.
But there were 80 million millennials, and there were actually, no, I'm sorry.
And that's you.
Yeah. 72 million millennials right now, 69 million Gen Z, 40 million Gen Alpha. So talking about share,
so that means that millennials are going to play the same role in society as the boomers do now. Hopefully we'll be better, but we're going to have a lot of people, and the younger generations are not going to be able to replace us. They will not replace us.
In 20 years, we're looking at Gen Alpha and Gen Z, the dominant generations. There's substantially less of them to buy products, to buy tickets, to know who you are. And there's an increasing competition from decentralization of media. So I don't know how we end up with another Ann Coulter, Bill Maher, Joe Rogan personality, and like the Bohemian Rhapsody song. If I go to anybody in my town,
don't forget about Morty, guys. Peanut butter is on the table. 99 cents counts as a super chat. Super chats, super stickers, all of that stuff counts. Let's feed the puppy, guys.
Where I grew up with, they all watched your show. It's liberal Chicago, and everybody would put on Real Time, and Jon Stewart and things like that. If I asked anybody who was on a Daily Show right now, they'd say, I don't know, Jon Stewart. I'd be like, one night a week, I think.
Guamzet said, I forgot to say, mentioning Bill meeting with Trump and his shift to my anti-Trump grandma actually helped her soften up on the Orange Man. All right. Hey, well, dilly to that. One person at a time, right? Every vote counts.
And who are the other people? No idea. I think Jordan Klepper is one of them. Don't know the rest. To be fair, they have more than one host now. But I think everybody is choosing media that represents them, like you brought up earlier. And it's easier than ever to get into. Then there's going to be less people. You're talking about,
That's a big issue with this whole platform of mine, is that people are looking for to have their ideas confirmed. But I'm not, you can't put me in a box the same way that you can put, Steven Crowder in a conservative box or David Backman or whoever, Bill Maher, whatever. They clearly fit in a box. And, me being a non-believer, but also being a Trump supporter. And it's difficult to thread that line and get people to buy into the idea that, like, hey, just because you don't necessarily agree with all of my opinions doesn't mean that we can't have, an interesting community. And I think to go the other way, it would make it more interesting that not everybody here thinks the same thing.
Owning a piece of the Mets, and I'm like, I might have a big show, but I don't think I'll ever be able to afford owning a piece of the Mets or anything like that.
Well, I doubt if they're going to sell it again. I mean, it was a rare thing. It doesn't happen often in sports when a team sells a chunk of themselves. The Mets were in very bad shape in 2010, and they sold 40% of the team to a select group of investors. That doesn't happen. Billionaires
How did we get here?
sell the whole thing to each other. You know, they don't sell little pieces of it. But the Mets were so fucked up that they were being sued by the Madoff survivors because they were very the ownership of the Mets, and they were lovely people, but they were apparently very in with Bernie Madoff, and so they were and again, this is the New York franchise. New York. This is baseball. There's nothing more Americana than that in New York, and yet
I don't know what they're
could
talking
not
about.
attract investors. I mean, when I got it, I was like, I can't believe that I got a piece of the Mets.
Are you allowed to say what?
Oh, okay. He's saying he owns a piece of the Mets, and usually that wouldn't happen because you need to be a billionaire, but everything's decentralized. Got it.
When I got it, I was like, I can't believe that I got a piece of the Mets.
Are you allowed to say what?
Where are the like hundreds of people richer than me?
What are you allowed to say? Like, what was the value that they had put on the Mets? Not what you.
Absolutely, it was so undervalued. At the time, it was $750 million.
Wow.
Again, these aren't the Royals. No offense, Kansas City. This is the Mets, but that's how much they were shit on at the time. And it just shows the sheep mentality. Like it got into people's heads. The Mets, there's a horrible toxic stink on them. Don't go near them. And I was like, oh, I'll go near them. Oh, I'll happily go near them. And again, I mean, when they sold, it was for like $2.5 billion. But even that's way underpriced now. I mean, the Celtics, I think, just sold for $6 billion. I mean, I said to myself, if there's one thing that always goes up, it's sports franchises. That's just a no loser. And then the pandemic came along and made it slightly more, still a winner, but like it could have been so much of a bigger winner without the fucking pandemic.
Yep. So, shout out to Dana White, who kept sports rolling all the way through. Fox said, why do the citizens that host the stadiums not get equity from them? We as citizens, do we pay to build and host stadiums with zero equity in them? Because it brings in a lot of income. So for the city. So if you have a major league sports stadium in your city, then every week there's going to be people flooding in and spending money in your town. So I mean, unless you are actually like, like that's like asking why you don't get a cut of the Wawa or the 7-Eleven. You don't work for them. You didn't do anything for that. You use it. And by the convenience of it being there, then you have that benefit, and then they pay taxes, and so you get that benefit. Where would that money? What money is being given to citizens by whom? They make so much money. We just rebuilt the dome a while back. Charge reward taxes, and we get no cut. Well, that I mean I don't necessarily think that the people who are working in the stadium, people who are working at gas stations around there, they are getting a cut. Those are people that are there spending money that otherwise wouldn't have spent money.
Could have been so much of a bigger winner without the fucking pandemic. So you don't think I suffered?
Yeah.
Well, shout out to Luckbar. Welcome to the party. Very good to see ya.
You both suffered from the pandemic. You almost died. I lost money.
I don't know. I mean, I was sick, but.
Guys, remember 99 cents will get Morty a treat. He is hungry, and he's already in his bed when he thinks you guys aren't going to give him any more food. So surprise him.
With the age thing, too. So I'm a skateboarder. I've been skateboarding my whole life.
I know you are.
Yeah, it's Tony Hawk's fault. He landed at 900, and then every millennial had to get a skateboard.
Yeah.
Now there's no skateboarders anymore.
Why?
Nope.
No kids. Skateboarding.
Why? Kids don't go outside.
There's not enough. So there's 40 million Gen Alpha. To be fair, like it really is that skateboarders are. Let's say this I'm saying this in a punk rock kind of way. Degenerates. And so when they found themselves in the late 2000s being millionaires, what did they do?
Degeneracy.
They bought big houses, they partied, and now more than half of skateboarders are over the age of 30.
But that is the story of every generation as they get older.
Damn. over 30. Shout out to Bubba the Elephant with the $2. Thank you. Oh, where's my applause? There we go. Thank you so much. Let's see if we can get him out of his bed. Morty, come on up here. Come here. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, there we go. Look how happy he is. Thank you so very, very much. That is 2 out of 15 and 3 out of 50. Let's get Morty his peanut butter, guys. Thank you so very, very much. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you so very, very much, Morty, and I very much appreciate it.
30.
But that is the story of every generation as they get older.
But you need an industry. So like Hollywood, music and entertainment had an industry. Sure, the rock stars were nuts. The problem with skateboarding is the rock stars ran the business. So the core industries that made skateboarding big were also running the business. And here we are. And
but that is amazing to me.
Yeah.
That kids are not into it anymore.
Scooters. You know what I think? There's so this is where we get into like tariff stuff.
So there's none of that going down a flight of stairs.
There is. Like
and wrecking your body on an unforgiving pavement.
Yeah, you just don't get paid for it anymore.
I
I think the top earner in skateboarding off of the sport alone was like 400,000 for the year, and then it immediately curls down to the top 10, made about 100.
Don't you think a lot of that is just every new generation has to shit on what the previous generation did and not to do anything but that?
There's definitely a trend of what is it? So like we know that kids these days aren't like going out to the clubs and stuff like that. And a part of it is this cringe element. But I think that doing anything outside of the norm is cringy and therefore not worth doing. So they'll all go to the club and get a table and spend the money and then just stand around because they don't want to be seen as cringe. And I think that is something that's going to last with their generation for a little while until they get to, that age where you stop caring so much about what people think of you and realize that they have nothing that they do. They have no personalities. And I don't know what's going to happen from there, but I think they're going to get over cringiness when they have no fucking life.
Well, maybe. The older skateboarders think that skateboarding comes and goes in waves and there's nothing you can do about it. But I don't believe that's true. It's an Olympic sport. You're going to have China. Well, actually, let me put it this way. I believe tariffs. I'm sorry, not tariffs, but free trade is one of the principal culprits for the decline of skateboarding. And the proof of that is that in Japan and China, skateboarding's never been bigger. So one of the biggest skateboard brands, probably the biggest, the premier, it's called the Barracks, shut down in LA. And it shocked everybody. And they're reopening in Japan, where we offshored all of our jobs in manufacturing and the industry to China. Now Southeast Asia has a massive booming skate culture. They even have a reality TV show, it's like Ninja Warrior, but for skateboards. In the United States.
I would love to watch that.
You got a bunch of 35-year-old men.
So how old do you think you'll be when you stop skateboarding?
Never.
That's what I say about basketball. I mean, I always have, look at my finger. That's a basketball injury.
Wow.
I don't give a shit. Yeah. Rebounding. When the ball hits there, it's
jam.
fine. It'll get better. Yeah, jams.
That just happened?
About a week ago.
Oh, wow. That's great.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's totally worth it. I played last night.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta now when I play, I make sure I do a good 40-minute stretch before. I mean, I don't get out and then, knee pads and all the things the pros wear, shit on their ankles. You want all the support you can.
I got to stretch now too.
What?
I got to stretch now too.
That's one of the big things where I'm realizing that can really help. And just going from laying down for a day straight and then going up and doing physical activities, probably not the best way to do it.
Yeah, you know what? Trust me, bro. 40 is nothing. You're in a great point in your life. It's great to be 40 and look, you're killing it. That's really great. And apropos to your thing about feel guilty, don't. That's stupid. If you leave here with one piece of advice, don't do that. That's dumb. Don't give up.
That's the liberal in you.
Don't give up. That's not the liberal.
Thanks, Dad.
In me. That's the smart guy in me. Don't give up your fucking show. That's stupid too. Keep doing. At some point they might put you out to pasture. Don't put yourself out to pasture. I can name some people who did that to themselves in this business who were like, "Oh, I'm going to walk away from this." Yeah, good luck. And nobody ever invites you to walk back. When you haven't have it. You have a good piece of real estate. Just take it. There was here. Let me tell you about generation. There's a movie that actually was Johnny Carson's production company made. It was a big movie in 1983 called The Big Chill. And it was about how the hippies, the people who were like fucking hippie dippies in like the late 60s when they were like 18, 19, 20, right? You know, the flower power and free love and Woodstock. Okay, you got the general impression, right? All you need is love. Okay, so
Boomers had it good, man.
Right. So like, then this movie takes place.
Yeah, who was talking about Tim's shoes before? They look pretty clean, and also, you know, the way the chair's angled, that's probably a good distance between his foot and the table.
It's like currently, which was at the time 1983. So now these people who were hippies are like, you know, early 30s, and it takes place. It's about like these. Some guys, he lives in like kind of remotely, just out like in the exurbs I think it's North Carolina, and like all the college friends are coming over, and so there's a lot of reunioning kind of thing. And when we were hippies, it was great. There's a scene where like something happens, and a cop car comes up to the house, and the guy who's like owns the house and is having all his college friends over, and he's just like, "Oh, thanks, nothing, but whatever it was," and you Bob, and goes, "Oh, thank you." And he goes back in the house, and his college friend is like, "Man, you were so nice to the pigs," you know. And he's like, "Dude, I live here now, okay?
Yeah.
It's not like we're in college. I'm dug in." I think that was his line. I'm dug in here.
You gotta grow up. You gotta grow up.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, I have a family. I want the cop to be my friend. They're not all pigs anymore, okay?
I mean, no, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Grow the fuck up. And that's like the great conflict of the movie. Is like, are we still hippies with all that ideology, some of which was good and some of which was stupid, or are we just growing up? And you know what? That generation, who did they vote for in 1980? Ronald Reagan.
You know, but I hear from you, it sounds like a mix a little bit of the understanding growing up and being responsible, but also the, you know, come on, do your thing. I guess my question is like, what do you have a preference for what the future of this country and world should be?
A preference?
Good question.
I mean, peace and prosperity and democracy.
Because I feel like you're
fair enough
with politics. You're very in it, and there's a reason you, I, or anybody else wants to be involved in the goings on of the world is because we want things to be done better or right.
Correct.
Yeah, you know. So I wonder.
He is a big child, but you know, he ain't wrong.
When I say like things about being guilty, it's like if I have this platform that is influential, and I can, you know, like you said, people will listen to me, and I can say, hey, like I think this is a good way to do things, and that can make the world that way. That's why I feel guilty of walking away from that opportunity. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's great too. I mean, that's a great motivation. I mean, that's the best motivation. I mean,
indeed. And a shout out to a Guam tag. There we go. See, he knows. He knows. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So very, very much said for the Overlord. And he very, very, very much appreciates that. That is what, 4? Are we on a 4 now? We are 3 out of 15 and 5 out of 50, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so very, very much. And that makes you the new co-sponsor of the stream. Very, very, very much appreciated. No, I was gonna throw you right to an ad, but we'll do this. I turned off the ads, but you know, I still got to do my own thing. But thank you.
That's great too. I mean, that's a great motivation. I mean, that's the best motivation. I mean, I never try to fool myself to think that what I'm doing is so noble that it's not really, because it's doing what I want to do. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it. I'm so glad that it does things for other people. And if you ask me what is the great joy of my life, I would sum it up by saying, there's this thing that I can do that enough people feel like I'm the only one who can kind of do that for them. I'm the only one who can kind of scratch that itch. You know what I mean? And every week, I'm like, they want me to do this thing for them. And I love being able to give them that gift. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to
I've actually been seeing higher numbers since I turned the ads off. So
interpret the news in a way that is just different than anybody else does. And it does a thing for you. And I love that connection. Like, I give you this gift and you appreciate it. And that really is that's the relationship of my life.
I do see the irony in that they shifted from advocating for the importance of love to celebrating the value of wealth. But I think in following the stream of the conversation, again, it's not like they are talking about worshiping their wealth. They seem to be more appreciating the fact that they have it, which is not quite the same thing, in my opinion.
You're obviously an atheist.
Yes.
Famously religious. I saw it when you put it out. And
good.
Brilliant.
I know I was lapsed Catholic, briefly atheist. Now I'm not Christian. I don't like the word deist, but
I do. I mean, if I was ever to move out of the agnostic category, I would be a deist.
The future, we're seeing this massive push towards Christianity, and like young people are.
Yes. What do you make of that?
Fake. It's fake. It's fake. And speaking of, let's go. In case you guys didn't see what I put on Twitter, there was the guy who was debating. Where are we? Even farther back. Here we go. The guy who was debating Jordan Peterson on Jubilee, and he was like, "Oh, you're really quite nothing." And so let's just see what he's got to say here. Where are we?
You're really quite something, you are.
Aren't I? But you're really quite nothing, right? You're not a Christian.
Okay, I'm done with him.
Yeah, that was me. I wanted to give some background. First of all, before the production, people all got emails, invitations, where the production title was one Christian versus 20 or 25 atheists. Everyone got that email, at least on the atheist side. Of course, I don't know what personal emails they sent to Jordan Peterson, but before production, they announced, once again, the production title as being one Christian versus 20 atheists. Jordan Peterson actually responded and actually, I think, giggled and said, well, some people don't consider me to be a Christian. He embraced the label before the filming, right? I really think he just had something like a Joe Biden moment. He didn't really understand what it meant to say, yes, I'll be that one Christian in your video. If he was responsible, he would have declined. If he doesn't label himself as a Christian, like he didn't really answer my question, like whether he was a Christian or not, then he should have never entered the arena. And yeah, the whole Mary worship thing, all I was trying to show there is that if you play with words, you're going to say stuff like Catholics worship the saints and Mary and their Pope, right? Which they don't want to, they're not inclined to say that. Maybe there's a technical sense in which they worship them. That's not the point. That's not where he got owned. He got owned for accepting to be the one Christian and then saying in the production, yeah, I'm not telling you that I'm a Christian. And for those that don't know, Jubilee changed the title after public.
Yep, that's exactly what I said. He's stuck in his Daily Wire bubble and exactly not ready for real.
Telling you that I'm a Christian. And for those that don't know, Jubilee changed the title after public release. They got the backlash. Why did you invite Jordan?
Yeah, again, in case you, well, it's blocked here, but you can see on the top, the original title was One Christian versus 20 Atheists featuring Jordan Peterson. And then they changed it to Jordan Peterson versus 20 Atheists.
Peterson to do the whole One Christian versus 20 Atheists. He's barely a Christian, if not even. So I understand why Jubilee changed the title, although that makes my point, kind of diminishes my point. But everybody, I think the top comment is that, yeah, they changed the title of the video. But at the same time, it's hard to blame Jubilee completely. I mean, maybe they made a mistake. I wouldn't say that. If you look at Jordan Peterson's content very closely, especially the last couple months, he's been saying stuff like, yeah, there's a sense in which Christianity is true, or yes, Jesus rose from the dead. In fact, if you take a video camera 2,000 years ago outside of his tomb, maybe a person would come out.
I want to be clear: is what is the God you believe in?
I think that the claim that Christ is the embodiment of the prophet and the laws, I think that's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
that's complicated. It's very, very complicated, but I think it's true.
So you believe that Jesus was
God?
God.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for the guy that was interviewing him, right? He had asked multiple times. He was trying to get clarification, and he was so sweet about doing it. I just wasn't sweet about it. I'm tired of the BS, right? Like, I'm tired of am I a Christian? What does it mean? What does it all mean? But yeah, I believe, or maybe I don't. Like, it's bullshit. Stop. Be straight with the answer. I'm just going to be assertive about it. That guy was just being nice. I'm just not.
Remember, rule number 10 in Rules for Life: be precise in your speech.
Put it this way: if I went back in time with a Panasonic video camera and put that camera in front of the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea, would the little LCD screen show a man walk out of that tomb?
I would suspect yes.
So that to me seems like a belief in the historical event of the resurrection, or at least of Jesus leaving the tomb, which means that when somebody says, do you believe that Jesus rose from the dead? It doesn't seem clear to me why you're not able to just say, it would seem to me yes.
Yeah, it doesn't look good for Jordan Peterson at all.
Look, again, Alex O'Connor being very sweet, cordial. You can tell he's frustrated. But again, civil. I'm not civil because I'm sick and tired of the BS. I think even Alex is sick and tired of the BS. He's just a nice person. I'm not. Most people are sick and tired of it. Just be straight with the answer. Stop confusing people. And no, I do not blame Jubilee for inviting you because you're as clear as mud. And it looks like you are a Christian if you think this guy is God and he rose from the dead. So I would say Jordan Peterson is the one that's mostly at fault, right? And Jubilee is suffering because he accepted the whole gig.
Since we're here, there's one more. Oh, look, Jack, two more, because this is fucking hilarious.
How should we begin? Well, what do you mean begin? You think energy has unilateral derivation? Well, only if you broaden the metadata to include union ubiquity. What now? Well, that depends on what you mean by now. Well, what do you mean depends? Well, who is you in this instance? You think you're limited to this instance? Of course not. Time is a bastardization of cosmic arithmetic. This hurts my brain. Me too. It seems we can't agree on terms. Well, I don't agree with that statement. I don't agree it's a statement. This must be how Romulus and Remus felt when they orchestrated the building of Rome. Well, clearly I'm Romulus. No, you're Remus. I'm Cain, you're Abel, you're Brutus to my Antony. Are we stuck? We might be stuck. Uh-oh. Can anyone help dislodge the coarse synaptic latitude on display? Oh, I know. Say your favorite pompous phrase to control a conversation. Ready? Egalitarian malfeasance. Damn. Again. Metaphysical verisimilitude. Nope. Again. Qualitative capriciousness. Didactic frivolity. Ooh, good one. Is this proof that conversations with me are obnoxious and futile? Well, we have built a career around it, so I think it's easier if we just assume we're some sort of god. Deal.
Okay, that one I forgot was there, but oh man, well, now that we're here, shout out to Equality and Deference, who I just saw left, but in the thing we were talking about worship, Peterson said, whatever you're attending to, you're worshiping. And Jordan's paying attention to these atheists. So Jordan Peterson worships atheists. By his own logic, that is correct. We can skip. Nah, let's skip it. Okay, this is the
one of the names that I was actually one of the names that was considered for this Jubilee debate, which was Jordan Peterson versus 20 atheists. It was originally titled One Christian versus 20 Atheists, but because Jordan Peterson's Christianity is unlike anyone else's, they just ended up renaming it Jordan Peterson versus 20 Atheists. Honestly, this debate was kind of boring to watch. You get a very grumpy, very irritable Jordan Peterson for most of it. The only redeeming part of the entire debate was Homegirl, that I will tag in this video because she's here on TikTok and she was fantastic. So he had 3 key points that he was making in the debate. The first one was that atheists don't understand the God that they're rejecting.
I mean, these are all from TikTok, but
the second one was that morality and purpose can't be created without God. And the third one was that everybody worships something, even atheists. So that first part of the debate was very boring. It was just very classic Jordan Peterson arguments where he would tell atheists that they don't understand the God that they're rejecting and that they've just been hurt by religion. And then he'd have atheists come up and say, like, I've studied this my whole life. Like, I've been in theology school. Like, I really take these questions very seriously. I've even, read a lot of your work and I still reject God. And he would just basically say, well, you do still worship God. It's just maybe different than the God of your parents or whatever. He would just kind of always gaslight people into, no, you actually do believe in God. And he does that same argument for Christianity. When they ask him, like, what does it mean when you say I'm a Christian? He would say a Christian is anyone who takes up their cross and does self-sacrifice. And it's like, okay, like I understand that maybe Christ embodies that for you, but Christianity is much more than the human impulse to do self-sacrifice for a greater good.
As I've been saying, this is all watering down your religion and you should care more than I do.
So as always, he's just like using these words in a way that no one else does. And so he said later on in the debate that there were maybe like 12 things that make you a Christian, and someone who doesn't believe in Jesus or never heard of Jesus could do like 8 of the 12. So there are 8 12ths Christian. And it just got really muddled really fast because he's trying to hold on to God and Christianity by casting the net so wide that it basically includes everyone.
Which is another way of saying watering it down.
The second part of the debate is that you can't have morality and purpose without God. And that went more or less like the Sam Harris arguments where like, why can't we use the science of well-being to be able to ground morality and purpose? Why can't we do that without a God? And he just never has a really good answer for that question. And then the last point, which
Because there isn't one.
I think he was able to pull off the best, was that everyone worships something. And if you want to call worship like action or like action towards a highest good, then sure, everyone worships something. But to me, again, there's no reason to call your highest good God, whereas he necessarily says that your highest good and your highest or ideal in your hierarchy of values is God. And again, the question is always, why does it have to be God? Why can't that be human? So not the best debate to watch for me, just because it's really disjointed, because he's arguing with different people and then they'd get voted off. And so you never really got to dig into it. But the question, if I would have gone, the question that I would have asked is all these things that he holds as God, things like self-sacrifice for a greater good, or awe, or beauty, or ritual, or archetype. He calls those God, but why can't they be human? Why can't?
Well, that just means, Box, that what you're actually saying is that you believe that the jug of milk is a god.
Those things be human things, and the stories in the Bible be human things and human themes.
Yeah, I tried to get her on the channel. She is very, well, I don't want to say very left-leaning, but a lot more left-leaning than I think would allow her to comfortably be on this platform. And, we would really only be talking about religion anyway, and we moved away from that. So, but yeah, she's great. Definitely, if you are on TikTok, her thing is in the video. Give her a follow.
And human archetype and human story. Why does he have to ground it in God? And the answer to that question, I think, came out in the Sam Harris debates, which he said, in one of them, that he fears nihilism. He fears that if it's not grounded in God, that just having it ground in humans is not enough, and that we'll all just kind of like fall into nihilism. And so I think his fear of nihilism forces him to create a net, these net terms for God and Christianity that nobody else uses, because he's so afraid that if you can't ground these good things into God or something objective or something overarching, then it's not going to be enough, and we're all going to fall into nihilism. And he has a deep, deep fear of nihilism.
And I mean, she goes on from there, but yeah, point is not a good representation, as we previously discussed. And Log Park, I completely agree that Daily Wire's reputation for brilliant debates and exceptional work is being challenged. That is putting it lightly. Dave Smith just did a whole episode on how Ben Shapiro is wrong about whole bunch of stuff, but essentially he's Israel first, not America first, and can't disagree.
We're seeing this massive push towards Christianity, and like young people are
Yes.
adopting it.
What do you make of that?
Well, one thing I think is true is that conservatives had more kids in the 2000s. I know a lot of people want to claim these ideological victories where they say, like, we've read billion people. And I've pointed this out for years. No, just in like 2003, there were a couple studies that came out saying that liberals were having less kids than conservatives. Well, 20 years later, what do you expect to see? There's going to be more conservative people than liberal people, just because the parents had kids.
Right.
And so even if you take into account the fact that children rebel against their parents. And I mean, use me as an example. I was brought up in the church. I rebelled against that. I, became a heathen drug addict and all that stuff. But as part of, my journey of life, or whatever you want to call it, I retained the foundational things that I was taught as a kid. And even going through and specifically editing my values, taking each thing that I believe and trying to test to see if it is something that I should believe. There was a lot from my Christian upbringing that I decided, yes, I want to keep this. And so, yeah, even the when you take into account kids rebelling, I think what Tim is saying still applies.
People than liberal people, just because the parents.
Shout out to Dave Smith.
Had kids.
Right.
I do think also that one of the more interesting trends, however, is that among Gen Z, irrespective of that, there's been a rightward ideological shift among men. And I think this has to do with
feminism,
with contemporary politics, movies, games, culture, etc.
And also men feeling that they were targeted unfairly. There is a lot of toxicity in being maleness. Some of that.
Full circle. We started off talking about Married with Children, and now here we are.
We can't control. Some of that is just how we're born. We were drawn that way. Boys are going to be more rambunctious in school. They're going to be harder to discipline.
Boys
They're going to have more excess energy.
Just boys being boys.
And we kind of made we went, like we do with everything, went overboard and made it seem sometimes like maleness itself was on trial.
It's like a race to the bottom.
So it's not what?
It was a race.
I love how Bill laughed and then was like, "Wait, what?"
It was like a race to the bottom.
So it's not what?
Because he was he was already talking. He stopped talking to laugh, and then stopped laughing to ask what. What were you laughing at then?
Was on trial.
It was like a race to the bottom.
So it's not what?
It was a race to the bottom of all these different cultural elements trying to one up what was wrong with masculinity.
Yeah, kind of. And it's not surprising that they would run to Trump.
Yep.
They would run to the guy. I mean, it's kind of like, why do cops vote for Trump? Well, the guy who's like out there saying they're not the enemy, and they're not. I mean, there are things that obviously should be criticized about the police too, which Trump would never do, because he's always all in on one way. But I can totally understand if you're a cop, you feel very misunderstood, and you are, and you understand that you do something that the society needs, and they don't seem very grateful about it.
Okay, but in the same way, we were just talking about this with the Jordan Peterson debate in the last stream. In the same way that I can acknowledge that the reputation that comes with the word atheist is unfair to me, but it's not other people. It's not the people who have that opinion. It's not their fault. It's the other atheists who have created that stereotype. And so cops should be mad at the other cops that have created that stereotype. And I think the media definitely fanned the flames. And I think that was a huge misstep because people were already, what's the word? I guess like willing to be against authority and not bootlickers and all that stuff. But, it all got messed up and we got to bootlicking and defund the police. Those were the two ends of it.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, so it's kind of similar to that.
People, man, there's one prominent cop. I think this is Donut Operator. I could be wrong, so forgive me if I'm getting the guy wrong. But he was a cop.
Yeah, he had a Biden moment. Oh, Bill. Guess he's not in that good a shape. He was just talking about, do I look old? Do I look like I'm on death's door? I mean...
And I could be getting the guy wrong, but the thing that these cops deal with that people don't understand is they see these negative stories in the press all the time. And when there's a bad cop doing a bad thing, let's lock him up. Let's put him in jail. But my dad was a firefighter, and he told me when I was younger, he's like, never be a cop because the things these guys deal with,
Yeah.
One day.
I wouldn't say that. Well, except my dad died, and still to this day, I do not know if he was a Democrat or Republican. Is that a good thing or a bad thing, though? I feel like these things are, it doesn't necessarily have to be good or bad, but I'm just saying, I feel like I would want, those things are important to who you are. And so if you're not passing that down to your children, is that a good thing? I'm not sure. Hey, shout out to KFT. Welcome to the party. Take the hat off. It's not that cold, but it is that bald. Thank you. Member for 9 months. Very, very, very much appreciated. Not going to count towards our swole goal, but very much appreciated. And of course, a treat for Morty. Welcome to the party. Well, we got you here. We're going to do this. One second here. If you guys are enjoying the show, the party rages on 24/7 over in our Discord. The link is pinned to the top of the chat and is absolutely free to join 24/7. We're in there hanging out, having a great time. And guys, it is absolutely free. However, if you are a member of this channel here on YouTube, you can scroll right below that video and hit that join button. Starts at $2.99. There's a few different tiers, but $2.99 will get you in. It gets you members only live streams here on YouTube, all that other good stuff. But it opens up the full Discord server. So we've got the free chat that is open to anyone. Anybody can join and talk. But as you can see, that is just one of our channels. There's a bunch of different channels here, including our Disciple chat for members only, our Word of the Day watch party, where we're talking about all this stuff. And of course, we have the voice channel here, where we are hanging out at this moment. Shout out to everybody in the Discord server. Say hello and tell them to come and join. There you go, guys. Simple as that. See you there. And of course, remember, guys, even if you join as a free member while the stream is going, we have our after party that we're headed to. And even if you are a free member of the Discord, you will get a day pass to come and hang out in the after party with us. Become a member to join every single stream. We have an after party. But come on through. Oh, KFT again. That MAGA, hi Morty, Tim is not that important. Great. Thank you so very much. We got 3 co-sponsors now. Let's see if anybody is gonna take that spot. Thank you so very much. Let's let it roll.
And he told me when I was younger, he's like, never be a cop, because the things these guys deal with, you know,
Yeah.
one day, like you're getting a phone call about a domestic violence incident. You show up and some guy's screaming in your face, spitting on you, swinging at you, and then you go and see a mother holding her dead son who got hit by a car in one day. And then these people are just, they deal with this stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And then what happens is they go to a store where there's some minor altercation and they're not having it. And these cops are assholes, man. And it's like, that man just watched a child die and the mother scream. And now you're bothering him over some like petty BS at a supermarket.
Right.
You know, as much as I will talk about, I don't love the police. I don't have a super high opinion of the police in general. There is certainly an aspect of, them being misunderstood, them seeing really messed up stuff. And I was just watching, where are we? I was just watching this body cam video, and so we'll do another little side quest here. We got some, we're coming up on the end here, so we are not missing too much. Little side quest. Check this shit out. Second day on the job. Not even actually on, not even on the job. Just a second day as part of the department on a ride along.
Cost analysis of continuing the chase. Like, do you just let him go and try to track him in other ways? Because obviously there's always that past,
690 headed to the Loop Highway.
So this went on for a while, but I cut to the important part, and then you can see up here. This is the car the car getting chased. This is one of the cops, this way around. This getting chased. This guy's over here, and then we're looking at the orange guy.
So we got this officer in pursuit, and up here on the map, you can see there's a rookie officer.
Here, we'll be with you shortly.
And so it's pull into a parking lot
with a sit-in coming up on it. They're communicating poorly.
You want to just be down? You're not. I just want to confirm you're at District 5, but I'll go back to our channel. I'm coming to call almost. Be on GSP channel right now.
Second day on the job.
Come on, baby, let's get him.
All right, 477, where are you?
We're going over 316, still on Collins Hill.
He's moving.
This visual reveals 2 other vehicles joined the pursuit at some point. This trooper turns around and joins them, making a total of 4 cruisers in pursuit.
As you can see up here.
Okay.
They're all going this way.
We got the poor orange bastard on top. Green light, clear.
477, slow down. There's a roundabout up there.
10-4, we both slow down.
All right, go down here.
When I saw that, I was like, is this Jersey?
Northdale Road, about as orange, we're coming into the square.
The pursuit heads toward the densely crowded town square. Devastating civilian fatalities may occur if the pursuit isn't ended soon.
Yeah.
Here we go.
7690 still on the Loop Highway. I'm coming.
You got an update of the location? Any felonies?
We're going through the second roundabout. We're staying straight on the roundabout.
All right, 477, drive. Let me call it.
Getting close.
They're coming into a lot of traffic.
10-4.
323, we're only blocking the intersection.
Spoiler alert, when we reach that orange, some shit about to go down.
Understood.
Body cam footage shows the Lawrenceville officer and his recruit are aware of the pursuit, but hints they are not in direct contact with Georgia State troopers. This appears to cause miscommunications about commands and the pursuit's exact location.
Oh boy. All right, now I'm coming up on Dr. Pitt. Here we go. Come on, baby.
Get in there.
73.
Bam! Yo!
Second day on the job. So we were coming this way. The other guy was coming from this way, but he wasn't in contact with them. So this is on a hill. A guy was coming down the hill, and he blocked off the road. And not looking good. Oh, God. Yikes. So yeah, definitely misunderstood. Definitely be going through some shit that we don't know about. But cops are still cops. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Fox said to defend Dad, he passed when I was 30. We hang out all the time. I can fix your car. I can build a house from the ground up. I just don't know who the hell he voted for. Fair enough. Why would I catch a ban? There's whole channels that are dedicated to this. KFT said, not uncommon for police agencies to not be in communication. Yeah, I don't know exactly if they were different, different jurisdictions or whatever, but yeah, something like that. And second day on the job. And later in the video, dude just hops up and like I'm sure it's the adrenaline, but like he was just like, I'm good, let's go. And I bet the next day though, he was like, ugh, my body. Walked away to put the yep. Side quest. You never know where they're gonna go. Back.
You're bothering him over some like petty BS at a supermarket.
Right.
So it is pretty brutal. But then I do think, I say this somewhat facetiously, ban the internet, get rid of social media, because it puts people in these bubbles where they only see the bad thing. And I think it's making people go crazy. So we're talking about the younger generation, right? Here's one really interesting phenomenon in the political polarization. In the end of the 2000s on Facebook, the top content was police brutality. And there was one website that was one of the top global websites that only made articles about police brutality. Why?
World Star!
Hit all the algorithmic points. Shot content, justice, anger. And so imagine you're 10 years old in 2010, and you go on to Facebook. Maybe you're not supposed to, but you do. What do you find? BuzzFeed, Huffington Post, Mike.com, and they're blasting you with nothing but black man killed, unarmed black man killed. The reason they were doing this was Facebook found that after around 300 friends or likes, the chronological feed becomes incomprehensible. And they wanted to make sure that people stayed on the page longer. So they created the algorithm. That's why if you post, I'm getting married or having a baby, you will appear on the top of everyone's feeds. It's true. Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
At the time, they didn't do this intentionally, but they created an algorithm that if it got shared more, it got promoted more. And so
just like this video, guys, if you share it more, they will promote it more.
what happened was first that these websites like Huffington Post found that an article that said something like racist thing happens would get more shares. So they made more of it. Eventually, a great example is Mike.com, M-I-C. It started as a Ron Paul libertarian freedom website.
Shout out to Ron Paul.
It was trending on the internet in 2008. And then it turned into social justice, intersectional feminism, and police brutality because that was generating most of the shares on Facebook. So these younger kids who are 10 or whatever are inundated with nothing but this. What happened?
And Tim has talked about this before, and he'll talk about how, like, if you have black man and police in the title, then, that's going to get you more engagement. If you have black trans woman and, adding all of these oppressor tags will help. And that's how, the Oppression Olympics began.
Happens. There's this famous video where a guy goes to Venice Beach and he asks people, how many unarmed black men do you think were killed by police last year? And they say 1,000, 10,000. Yeah. It was 9.
I know.
And it's because the media, or I should say social media, was propping up select stories over and over and over again. And where it gets crazy is even the same story every week.
But let's look at what's behind that.
Damn. All right. I guess we'll do some body cam stuff. I didn't think you guys would be into it, but that's easy for me. We can just sit back and watch.
What's behind that? What it is white guilt. There's a certain segment of the left that feels very bad
for being
about
white.
the horrible racist history of our country, which they themselves probably participated not at all in.
Yeah.
And they are just constantly doing things that they think are for someone else, but I think are for themselves.
Yeah, but I was saying I stopped watching White Does X to Black. It was a conscious effort, and I completely understand that because I was, I hadn't, I was in high school in the when this was all boiling up, and so it was MySpace, and I remember like people always loving, these world star hip hop type videos where people are just getting in fights, whether it was white, black, whatever. It was just, violence. And I was like, guys, I feel like it's probably not good for us to just constantly be consuming this stuff. And I guess I was right.
That they think are for someone else, but I think are for themselves.
I completely agree.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of self-flagellating themselves about the racial issue, which of course the history is appalling, and the present has problems too.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Madness. Welcome to the party. Said I'm not the biggest biblical follower, but I do agree with the idea: spare the rod, spoil the child. On average. Yep, I'll go with that. I mean, and I've said this before, but you got to take it with a grain of salt. I'm not a parent. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but the notion that using violence on your kids and using corporal punishment or whatever you want to call it, if your child is old enough to reason, or rather, let's go the other way. If your child is not old enough to reason, then they're not going to understand the reason they're being hit. If your child is old enough to reason, then just reason with them. That may be more difficult than beating the shit out of them, but that's your responsibility as the parent. It's like, okay, a good point to follow the white guilt. Can't stand these social justice terms, and now we've got wokeness on the right too. So, yikes.
Flagellating themselves about the racial issue, which of course the history is appalling, and the present has problems too, racially in this country. Yeah. But they make
Wait, what? The rod doesn't have to be a physical rod, but they have no rights. Do not reason with a child. Why would you not want to reason with a child? Show them that violence is. Oh, you must be an Andrew Wilson fan. There's no rights, only power.
It worse. Let's put it just in general. They make it worse, and it's really about how it's not about actually making any black.
It's virtue signaling. Look at me. I am one of the good ones.
Black lives better. Actually, that doesn't really happen from all their hyperventilating. It makes them feel a certain way. It makes them that's what people have to realize about that.
Have you followed any of the Chicago stuff with Mayor?
Brandon Justice?
You want to know what's really fascinating about that?
He's worse than the last one.
Oh, he's terrible. But you know how he won? White guilt.
Racist.
Yes. I understand.
But wait. It's good. So I actually took the electoral map of vote breakdown by neighborhood, overlaid it with the racial breakdown per neighborhood, and what do we find? Every black neighborhood, their top 3 candidates were black. Even people who weren't frontrunners or polling anywhere near didn't matter. The black neighborhoods did not vote for any white guy or Latinos. The Latino neighborhood, guess what? Latino guys. The white neighborhoods, white guys. Except for one, the college liberal area of Loyola.
Sure.
They voted for Johnson.
Yeah.
And so even though Johnson wasn't...
To me, the black one.
That tipped it.
Yeah.
And so people thought there was this white dude that all of the suburbanites were going to vote for. Not the suburbanites, but it's Chicago, so it's not suburban. But like the outskirts in the Northwest. And he did really well. But when Loyola college liberals was the one area where it was predominantly white that voted for the black candidate, put it over the edge, and this is what you get.
Yeah.
Now we're all mad.
The living here in California, trust me, the concept of liberal in theory. This is something I say very often. People who are liberals in theory.
I like where this is going. I do indeed like where this is going. Guys, we are coming up on that 2.5 hour mark. If you would like to keep the party raging, you know how to do it.
And then you see how they live like terrible to the household help.
Yeah.
Like consider their assistants, because everyone out here has to have an assistant. They can't do anything for themselves.
Shout out to White Lotus. If you are interested in what they are talking about at this moment, you will enjoy White Lotus.
For their assistants, because everyone out here has to have an assistant. They can't do anything for themselves. I mean, I do too, but I've never called my assistant on the weekend or after hours. Most people here consider their assistant a 24/7 slave. This is what I mean about liberal in theory. Yeah, in theory, you're a liberal, but like, how do you actually live your life? And of course, like very privilegey, and they absolutely hate privilege, but they
have so much of it. And shout out to Guam Tech, keeping the party raging. Thank you so very much, sir. And of course, you have now stolen the sponsor spot. So, sponsor of the stream. Thank you so very much. Let's keep it raging.
very privilegey, and they absolutely hate privilege. But their whole life is sustained by the privilege of not having to be practical or knowledgeable about a lot of things which they pontificate on and act like they're knowledgeable about. And also just, like many homes, like expensive vacations. I mean, it's not like they are, if you really feel that bad about it, switch houses with someone in Compton.
But
Let them live here in your house. And
remember Martha's Vineyard. Remember when they sent 49, not even 50, 49 people to Martha's Vineyard, and they're like, oh no, the world is ending.
You could live in their house, and then you'll feel better.
This is a part of what I call wokeness. Everybody's always trying to define it some way.
Right.
But I define it specifically as cult-like adherence to the liberal orthodoxy.
I like the cult-like adherence. But as we've seen, it's not just the liberal orthodoxy. Woke right.
And the reason why I say that is because being in media...
Because I think that is a good definition of the woke left. But I think the idea here is that you can remove that aspect of the liberal orthodoxy and have a dogmatic adherence to a different orthodoxy. And I don't know what you would call it, but this Jew-centric race-based identity politics thing is wokeness.
And cultural spaces for the past 15 years watching all of this, the conservatives like to say it's DEI, it's race, but that doesn't explain support for certain institutions, support for war in Ukraine, doesn't explain the Me Too movement. These are all different things. It doesn't explain support for Islam particularly, which is the second biggest religion in the world. So it's not about critical theory or anything like that. It's about looking like you're virtuous. So these liberals who live the way you're describing it want to make sure that as they're seen outwardly to other liberals, they are perfectly in line with what is virtuous and right. We call it virtue signaling, but it can manifest into literally anything. Like, again, supporting the second largest religion in the world while claiming that they are oppressed, but massive.
Well, I mean, there's so much to get into here. One is the word liberal, very fraught for me because I still think I'm a liberal. I think woke is a different thing.
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, but you're
liberal and woke are different things, but not mutually exclusive in the same way that woke and any political party apparently are also mutually exclusive.
Example about Islam is completely right, and it's one of the main reasons why the far left started to really hate me is because I call out Islam as what it is. Extremely illiberal. That's what's so ironic about liberals being so supportive of Hamas is because you're liberals, and these are the people. I'm sorry, but this ideology, Islam, even in its more benign forms, yes, I agree.
More benign. Well put. More benign. There is no such thing as benign Islam. Maybe not the same thing, but definitely a lot of overlap. Fox said, woke means to be aware of injustice. Not anymore, motherfucker. There's a reason that you won't say the F slur for gay people, even though that means a bundle of sticks. There's a reason you won't say that, because that's not what it means to people anymore. That's the same thing that happened to woke. Hey, we got Devon in the building. Welcome to the party. The liberals are not supportive of Hamas. Those are leftists and progressives. This is why people got to understand this stuff more. I completely agree. I think a lot of people get into, they brush off the discussion of these categories and these labels. And I do think that maybe people get too hung up on what the label actually is. But to act as if it's not important to be able to categorize this stuff is silly. That's why it was very clear that only the woke people were talking about there's no such thing as the woke right. There's no such thing as the woke right, because they knew everything that was being discussed was on them. And so the only way to cope was to be like, oh no, that's not a thing. But you are the thing. You are the thing. If you are so afraid of this word, then you are the thing. And so, yeah, welcome to the party, brother. I completely agree. Oh, my goodness! Shout out to Madness. I didn't think we were going to hit it, but the goal has been hit. So not only do we get a nice little treat from Morty here, but Morty gets his peanut butter. Shout out to everybody. Put Madness in the fucking chat. We'll give him the cat first. Cat first. There we go. There we go. Thank you, thank you, thank you, brother. So very, very much. Keeping me alive here. Thank you so much. And the party rages on. We'll watch Morty enjoying his. He will get this courtesy of Madness and Guamtech and Babar. And who else was it? Oh no, I forgot. And my KFT. Thank you so very, very much, guys. I really appreciate it. Let's dive right back in. Madness. Oh, warming my heart. Beautiful.
Theology, Islam, even in its more benign forms, yes, I agree. The vast majority of Muslims, not terrorists, of course, but Islamists, which is the word we use to describe people who are not terrorists, but kind of agree with the things terrorists are doing and are for, that's a much higher number. That's many millions of people. And even the rank and file, I mean, most Muslim societies live under some form of Sharia law, which no Westerner who thinks that Hamas is so great could ever live under. Your fundamental rights that you take for granted here in America, you would not have.
And I think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Devon, but I think this is what you were trying to say, that it's not like a Democrat, all Democrats are like, yay, Hamas. Very fair, very true. I think it's important. Are you done with that? Oh yeah, he's ready. Shout out again to Madness for bringing so much happiness to this little man's life. I follow this page on TikTok. It's like super moody and like dark, but in a emo type of way about like how important dogs are and all that stuff. And it's like, make sure you take time while he's alive, and he's not going to be here forever. And, oh, you guys, thank you so much. And look at that. Thank you so very, very. I can't say it enough. I know you guys don't like when I get all mushy, so I'll move on. But thank you so very, very much. So replying to Guamtech, the same goes for MAGA and the woke right. God, I hate that term too. You only hate it because you had a better term, but we were too late to the party. I would have loved the meme right. I would have preferred trans conservatives just because we get the trans in there. But, it is what it is. So Devon says in response, I agree. We've been trying for a while now. Leftists have been destroying the coalition by advocating against us, by calling us basically Republicans. It's crazy. Funny enough, though, I think MAGA is the woke right, generally, but that's a discussion for another day. I'm a center left, center right guy. So, I mean, yeah, that is a whole other discussion, but the exactly what you said about understanding the labels and all that stuff is precisely why we need to be able to articulate why this is not the case. And while there can be people who are MAGA and woke right, that the woke right and MAGA are different things that may or may not overlap. Well said. Did I miss anything else? Boom. All right, let's dive back in.
Your fundamental rights that you take for granted here in America, you would not have. I mean, all the protesters who are protesting in Gaza against Hamas, they've all been killed. Right. They killed protesters. Women, I mean, do I have to say anything more than just if it was just that issue, how women are treated? Are you fucking kidding me?
And the narrative is when I talk to some of these academics, like the anti-woke people, they're like, well, it's because they say that, Gaza is oppressed. And I'm like, sure, but they're
By
siding
Hamas.
with the second biggest religion in the world, which is authoritarian, fundamentalist. And like, I don't care if you practice whatever religion you want to practice, it's fine. But it's strange to me to claim that Islam is oppressed in any meaningful way.
Well, I do care what you practice, and I fully defend to the death your right to practice whatever religion you want. Just don't lie to me and say all religions are alike. All religions are
Right.
not alike, and what makes them different mostly is how fundamentalist they are.
Yeah.
Fundamentalist means you actually believe what's in the holy book. I mean, there's the Quran, there's the Bible, and they're both full of nonsense.
And the difference, there's the clear difference is that the Christians don't claim that the Bible is the inerrant direct word of God. It is the interpretation of the scholars of the time that were writing in their interpretation of what they saw and understood. I'm sure you guys could articulate that better than I could. But in Islam, the Quran is supposed to be the direct inerrant word of Allah, that he was essentially whispering in Muhammad's ear and like, hey, write this. And so that's why you see moderate Muslims are not really that moderate in the grand scheme of what we're talking about, because they might say things, and this you will see in Bill Maher's Religious. They'll be like, oh no, I'm moderate, we're peaceful, we're the religion of peace. And then you talk about killing apostates. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, there could be context for that and why you shouldn't do that and shouldn't do, and they'll hem and haw and all that shit. There is no such thing as moderate Islam as we understand the word moderate. There's lesser Islam, but I would argue that that's not really Islam. Islam, way more than Christianity, is binary. You either are or you're not. And that's why they are willing to kill you if you are not. And again, I will say, the Islamists we've seen them blow themselves up. They will come to this country, and it does not matter if you believe in the same Abrahamic God as them. It does not matter. You live in the secular world, and they want to blow it all up. Shout out to Definitely Not Tukey. Sus name. I think you are Tukey. Said wrong. Okay. About what? Muhammad, yeah, I agree that he's a fake prophet, but that's not what they believe. They believe that through and through. Shout out to Trey Williams in the building. Welcome. I think two things can be true at the same time. I do think that we have rights other countries don't have, but I also don't feel like we can speak on our issues that we still have. Well, I feel like that's kind of there's people who are definitely trying to tamp down those discussions, and I would argue that that is a good signifier, maybe not a direct identifier, but a signal that you're talking to a woke person. If they're not willing to discuss issues that are real issues, and they're willing to shut that down and call you a bad person in one way or another, that's wokeness. And so it sounds like you and I have the same issue with wokeness. There you go. Welcome to the party. One sec. So I recently talked to a Muslim guy down at BJJ from doing something stupid in the name of his religion and family. Nothing big bad, but bad enough. Muslims can be super cool, but man, they can take things really seriously sometimes, aka all the time. He's a good dude, but it was surprising to hear, to say the least. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly, Box. They're all fake. Where are we? Demont said people who practice Islam are people who practice Islam that are part of a developed society tend to evolve their understanding of the doctrine in the way Christians had. Agreed, but because of the fact that of what I was talking about with the Quran being, strict, much more strict than interpretations of the Bible, I would argue that the people that you're talking about are just not Muslims. They like the values of Islam, but I think most fundamentalist Muslims would agree with me that these people are simply not Muslims. Yeah, we got a good balance of non-religious people here right now. Yeah, we got that one. No honor killing. Did I miss one? What did I miss here? Oh, okay. So Devon said, I would say the difference is what Maher lined out. Fundamentalism is inherent to less developed societies. Christianity developed because society developed. Bingo. Well said. Yeah, people who practice Islam are part of developed society who tend to evolve their understanding of the doctrine the way the Christians have. Well said. Well said. The funny thing is, I used a Bible verse and then a Buddhist saying to help him out. There you go. I told him I wish I had a Muslim version, but I haven't looked it up yet. Hey, that's kind of evidence that there really is something there. Just nobody's got the right answer yet. Stop thinking that your religion has the right answer and actually try to find out. I'm trying, but I'm just some fuck. I'm just some broke ass dude. If we all are having the discussion, then we will get closer to that which is called God if it exists. It's just that simple.
They are.
Yeah.
Fundamentalist means you actually believe what's in the holy book. I mean, there's the Quran, there's the Bible, and they're both full of nonsense.
Yep.
But we have learned to.
And the reason these are more grounded is because they don't have they don't have at least as strong of a dogmatic aspect. In Buddhism, the Buddha is not necessarily analogous to a Jesus Christ or a Muhammad. You can make that comparison and it works functionally and practically, but it's not even close to the same thing.
And there's the Bible, and they're both full of nonsense. But we have learned to wink at the Bible in the West, whereas Islam, to a much greater extent, takes it very seriously. I mean, we do not have things like madrasas here, where they send kids to school and they just learn that one book. That they are not studying anything else in a madrasa. That's the meaning of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, even in the worst of the worst, meaning most fundamentalists, the worst Catholic school that you're going to see is not going to be nearly as bad as these madrasas.
Of course, they're segregated completely sexually. So, I mean, what's going to be the upshot of that?
It's like a Handmaid's Tale, right?
It's worse.
Yeah.
It's not worse.
I think. But
yeah, and I'm not Christian, and but I have a lot of friends who are, and I don't care.
See, this is okay. This is my thing. This is my thing with Tim and religion. It's like the first thing. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was at the TPUSA AmFest, and they were talking about something, and there was like an opportunity for someone to say something like, oh, we need to get back to God, or we need to come closer to Jesus, or we need religion, or something along those lines. But Tim jumped up and said it. And it was just like, why are you doing that? Like, you're clearly pandering. Even if you generally agree, that's not you. And now here we are, him sitting in front of an atheist. And it's like, well, I'm definitely not a Christian. I have some friends who are, but that doesn't bother me. Why would it? What? We need what? I don't know. I don't think he said bother, but that's the vibe that he's given. That would be something that someone like me who rejects religion would say, I'm not a Christian. I have a lot of friends who are Christians. That makes sense coming from me. That doesn't make sense coming from somebody who is, in that Jordan Peterson, am I a Christian? Am I not a Christian? He said that he's not a Christian, but, his talk about a God and all that stuff. And Madness said, what about deism? I was saying earlier that if I was ever to move out of the agnostic and atheist category, that I would most likely be a deist, to believe that there is some entity or consciousness or energy or something that was the kickstart to everything that caused the Big Bang, and then everything came after that. I could see that would be possible, but I just I would need to see it first. Like I said, I reject God as a whole, and that is the semantic aspect of it. If we're talking about deism, then we're saying, okay, that which exists, we're calling that God, and it would have to be that deist God that did exist, if it were, would have to be very different from the Christian God in order to exist in a way that we understand to call it God, if that makes any sense. So I don't think so, but deism makes a lot more sense than theism. Yep. All right, Megan.
And I'm not Christian, and but I have a lot of friends who are, and I don't care.
But what are you? You said you were going on this before. You were like, I'm not a deist. I'm not
Well,
a
that's the
this.
thing, like,
but you're not an atheist anymore.
No,
so
I'm not an atheist.
what do you believe
I
in?
don't think God exists, but I don't believe in any scriptures or anything like that. I think man is fallible, and to write down books and then claim it's the word of God is silly.
So how long were you an atheist, and what did we do wrong not to keep you?
I was Catholic.
So again, we are going to hear a story of somebody who calls themselves an atheist, and maybe justifiably so, but what doesn't come with that is the other parts of moving away from faith and still having your moral structure intact. And this is going to be, I was an atheist for X years. And in those years, I either was angry or I didn't think about it, or, I was too busy skateboarding or doing drugs or this, that, the other. And then I came back to realize that there was some importance in something bigger than myself. That just doesn't need to be God. I also believe that we need to have reverence for something that is larger than ourselves as individual humans and as humanity as a whole. That doesn't necessarily mean God. That doesn't mean anything supernatural. It could be. Well, I mean, I don't believe that supernatural makes sense, but it could be outside of the dimensions of nature that we understand. But you got to show me something. Like, I believe it because it makes sense, but I don't claim to know it. That's what agnosticism is.
So how long were you an atheist, and what did we do wrong not to keep you?
I went to Catholic school, and
well,
there you go.
Yep, there you go.
I went to catechism.
Well, I didn't do that. At fifth grade, I left, and
Yep, I got my Buddha. This was like one of my, I think like second or third tattoo. Got my little Buddha with a lotus flower, and it says, "Follow your bliss." Shout out to Census Fail, my favorite band at the time. Great line. Follow your bliss.
I went to catechism.
Well, I didn't do that. At fifth grade, I left. And so what happened for me in Catholic school was they taught me nothing.
Fuck this
They showed
shit,
me a
I'm
video
out.
of Adam riding a brontosaurus. I'm not joking.
I went to the museum in Religulous where they have the exhibit of Jesus on the brontosaurus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they were so they told us that the dinosaurs were too big to fit on the ark, and the unicorns were too rambunctious. Not kidding. Showed unicorns were dancing and ran away from the ark. And I'm like, so I remember.
Oh, that's why they didn't survive.
That's right.
I see.
One formative moment was when I asked my
Well,
fifth grade teacher.
Can't argue with logic.
Right. So the Big Bang was
the Big Bang. Put a one in the chat if you do not believe in the Big Bang. Madness. And I think the most important part of religion is in the community. Core values they share and a similarity amongst all. Makes rulemaking and lawmaking much simpler when everyone is aligned. Bingo. Exactly. And this is the part that I didn't understand when I was talking directly to Tim. I called into their after show. And, I was talking about why do we need God? We can have the American identity where everybody is on the same page based on the, American values of capitalism, community, family, tradition, merit, so on and so forth. And his answer to me was that it's not going to work. People need a mission. And at the time, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? That is the mission. But I've come to realize the peanut butter smell is wafting. I came to realize that he is absolutely right. And the easiest way to frame this is thinking about the Christianity versus secular humanist debates. Which is better for society, Christianity or secular humanism? And, all my atheist career, I would have said secular humanism. But sometime between when I called in and now, I realized that secular humanism is not better, because if if that was the case, then religion would have already fallen away. And the reason is because while both tell you what is right in different contexts, they tell you this is the right thing to do. Christianity has the aspect of, and here's why you should do it. Secular humanism does not have that. So if you already want to be a good person, then yeah, follow secular humanism. But if we're talking about a society where we need to give people an incentive to want to do the right thing, then just having the answers of what is right is not gonna work. Gontek said, as cliche as it can be, the yin yang means so much more to me than the cross.
Bingo.
Well said. Well said. Yeah, balance is greater than sacrifice, but both are important. Like I said, did Sunday school for a summer. The only time I was in a church with my parents was for a wedding or a funeral. Lucky you. Well, that's a whole different question. Well, yeah, that's a question for a discussion for another day.
Asked my 5th grade teacher.
Can't argue with logic.
All right. So the Big Bang we were learning it, 5th grade science.
Really? Good for you.
The Catholic school.
Yeah. How do you get something from nothing and every question breaks down? I don't know. That doesn't mean it can't happen.
And I asked my teacher, if the universe was in a single point and then expanded outward, is it possible that, I raised my hand and asked this, is it possible that at some point it stops and then comes back in? And she went, I don't know, moving on. And I was furious.
Why? Who does know that? Nobody.
It's called the Big Crunch theory. And it was dismissed 100 years ago. So what pissed me off was, reflecting upon it, I genuinely wanted to know what they were trying to teach. And they couldn't teach me anything. So what did I do? I went home and went on the internet and read to myself. And so immediately I'm like, fake.
And thus is my journey away from Christianity. Precisely that, except the Big Bang, it was, the entire story of Christianity.
They have no idea what they're talking about. The religion is BS. I'm done. And so it wasn't like I was in 5th grade, 9 years old. But this is when I was like probably around 12 or 13 is when I was like, this is stupid. What are they even talking about? And like shellfish you can't eat, but they're eating it. These people don't follow this stuff.
Well,
that's a very common, day one atheist talking point.
But that's scripture. That's not God. And so what happened was I read about negative entropy, and it discusses trying to simplify as much as I can. Everything tends towards entropy.
In a closed system, the universe is not a closed system.
Entropy being randomness. Everything tends toward randomness.
To a certain degree, but at some point it will become uniformity in the heat death of the universe.
The way it was described to me when I took physics for poets at Cornell University was if...
Physics for poets. I'm sure that went real deep into the details.
After 6 months, you don't reorganize your sock drawer. It's a mess. That's entropy. And that happens in the universe.
An egg breaking?
Everything happens toward randomness, and it's true. Like, you have to, in your own life, you have to constantly be retarding entropy, or else your life is a mess. And some people can live in a mess and clutter, and they like it. But that desk, that we've all seen, where the tuna fish sandwich is under 3 piles of paper,
I'm not that bad. My shit ain't dirty. I'm just messy. I'm not dirty. I'm just messy.
From 2 weeks ago, that some people live in that. I can't. I have to always retard entropy.
But so that is negative entropy, which can only exist.
Yeah. What is negative entropy?
Exactly what you described.
Oh, fixing it.
Yeah. But that can only exist within a greater system of entropy. And so I'm reading this, and I started reading about how matter coalesces. Hydrogen becomes helium. It fuses the greater elements and things like that. The elements become compounds. Becomes chemical compounds, becomes single cellular life, becomes multicellular organisms. I kind of view it like on top of that.
Entropy, the measure of a system's thermal energy per unit temperature, is unavailable for doing useful work. Because work is obtained from ordered molecular motion. The amount of entropy is also a measure of the molecular disorder or randomness of a system. Indeed, we are solar empowered. There's that. Well. Okay, I was going to say, there's a lot of nuclear, but that's what essentially what that is.
Life becomes multicellular organisms. I kind of view it like on top of that. Fire. We know it exists. We can make it. And what is fire? It's the releasing of energy from carbon and oxygen slammed together, and the energy gets released. And the energy was stored from solar energy.
Does anybody know, before they understood combustion, how they thought? Oh, I thought he'd shoot off the top of the plastic. I was like, don't die. Yes. Does anybody know? I'll give you a hint. There was an element. They thought it was a chemical element that caused fire. Does anybody know what it is. Let's grab this here. Madness, our sponsor, said my journey away started with the idea of what happened to Jesus between ages 13 and 30. Just disappeared? Really? Is this even the same Jesus? Good question. Good question. And I mean, you know, it makes logical sense when you realized, oh, that's because the people that I'm reading didn't know Jesus. They didn't know that that was a decade ago. That was, or rather, a generation ago. Now, that doesn't mean that it can't have some accuracy. But you tell me a story that happened 30 years ago. Context said, my wife is the constant source of negative entropy for me. The only thing I keep organized is my work desk, just because the nature of my work is already chaotic by nature. I heard that. Not plasma. Nope. Not combustionum. Not that either.
And an oxygen slam.
Don't forget about our poll, the poll as well. Have you seen the religious?
Together, and the energy gets released. And the energy was stored from solar energy, which we view as some type of fire. It's fusion, which we're watching in the sky, but it works similarly, right? And so then my thought was, consciousness exists, at least I can say for myself because I experience it. But if consciousness is a component that exists within the universe, mathematically, like in the code of the universe, same as fire, is there probability of a higher form of consciousness? Yes, completely. Just like fire can be a forest fire, can be a star, or even a gigantic supermassive black hole.
Exactly. And so before we move too far, the word was phlogiston. The phlogiston theory, a superseded scientific theory, postulated the existence of a fire-like element dubbed phlogiston, contained within combustible bodies and released during combustion. The name comes from the ancient Greek meaning burning up or flame. The idea of a phlogistic substance was first proposed in 1667 by this guy, and later put together formally by that guy, attempted to explain chemical processes such as combustion and rusting, now collectively known as oxidation. The theory was challenged by the what the fuck is this word? Concomitant weight increase, and was abandoned before the end of the 18th century. So what does the theory actually say? In general, substances that burned in the air were said to be rich in phlogiston. The fact that combustion soon ceased in an enclosed space was taken as a clear-cut evidence that air had the capacity to absorb only a finite amount of phlogiston. When the air had become completely phlogisticated, it would no longer serve to support the combustion of any material, nor would a metal heated in a yield coax, I don't know what that is, nor could phlogisticated air support life. Breathing was thought to take phlogiston out of the body. And so I just bring this up, as a point in like, hey, here's the thing that we thought we knew for sure for a long time. And yet we were wrong. Morty, what are you doing? Why are you? Hey, what are we doing? What are you doing? Get out of there. I don't want you over there. Come on, come eat your fucking peanut butter. He's back by the wires and shit. Yeah, he's spot on. He's spot on. Let's back it up a little bit.
Of a higher form of consciousness. Yes, completely. Just like fire can be a forest fire, can be a star, or even a gigantic supermassive black hole. Consciousness exists in the universe as a component of the universe. Thus, the universe experiences consciousness. So I wonder if God then is not scripture-based, but that there
I'm too stupid. I needed to look this shit up too.
Is something beyond our singular consciousness. You get where I'm trying to go with it? I don't know. Maybe it's
I think it's really deep for a redneck. I really.
I'm from Chicago. What can I say?
Just fucking with you.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's like, I love the way everybody like takes their shot at talking themselves into what they just really want to believe. And I totally respect that. No, I mean, it's a lot easier and probably healthier to have that in your back pocket, like to think, oh, and I just don't.
I'm not saying,
but I don't know. But I don't say it's not. You know what? That people have this thing that atheists are dogmatic. No, we're just saying we don't know, and quite frankly, we don't really care because we don't.
I care, but again, that shows a difference. That just because you are an atheist doesn't mean you think a certain way. It just means you think a certain thing. And that is the rejection of the claim. Shout out to Arjun. Welcome to the party. Very good to see you, brother. Long time no see. Welcome.
I don't think we're ever going to really know or be able to know. So we just kind of put it out of our heads, but we don't think it's obviously the myths that have come down to us from.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But we might know if we try to find out.
But I'm not trying to say that there's like a being watching over us and
No,
dictating.
of course it's
something like
not.
that.
It couldn't. I mean,
It's more like
I don't know that it couldn't. It just doesn't seem very likely at all.
The logic that is the universe is the Einsteinian God, they call it. Viewing, our human experience and our emotions are unique to us.
I mean, I've said this before, but the idea that, and I'm sure the Big Bang Theory is correct, or I guess it is. I mean, again, talk about going on faith. I just think Neil deGrasse Tyson seems smarter than my pastor when I was a kid. I mean, my priest is and so I guess but the idea that all of matter in the universe, which is just, I can't even go into how big it is.
That's what she said. Oh,
was just fit into something like tiny, like, and just explode. Like,
that's what she said. Madison, imagine what we'd think if we saw miracles and didn't understand it. What if the fourth dimension was real and someone could show it to you? Would you even understand it after an explanation? And probably not, because we live in 3 dimensions, but we are aware of other dimensions. At least I don't know how like hard the science is on this, but I've heard people who were quote unquote experts talk about up to 12 different dimensions and how all this stuff works with quantum mechanics and stuff like that. But the point being that people will ask, like, what would convince you of Christianity, or what would convince you that God exists? And I don't have the answer to that question, because even if I saw something that you would call God, I don't know that I would necessarily call it God. I might just think it's a crazy thing that happened for a reason that lines up with the rules, the laws of physics, and maybe something. There must be an explanation, and until that explanation is whittled down to no, it can only be God, then what are we talking about? Exactly. That's what I always say. Whenever, what would convince you that God exists? I don't know, but he definitely does.
Fit into something like tiny, like, and just explode. Like, first of all, why do it that way? It just seems silly.
I think it's wrong.
And you don't believe in the Big Bang Theory?
No.
What about the show?
The show was terrible. I can take the laugh track. That didn't work. But let me elaborate. Science is wrong all the time.
Yeah.
And so I think the Big Bang is what we know so far.
Right.
But there's already theories about the Big Bang may have been what's called a white hole. Are you familiar with that?
No.
The other side of a black hole. And so string theory, unified M theory, I don't really follow the stuff as much as I was 20 years ago. But one idea is that the universe is a 12-dimensional structure. And basically what happened with our universe is someone took a piece of rubber, pinched it, and then blew it expanding as matter is pouring into it. But that's just one balloon of the universe being blown up in a much larger universe of multiple dimensions. I really don't know.
Well, I just got word from the Huffington Post. We need to capitalize black hole, but not white hole.
All right. That was good. When he's funny, when he's on, he's on.
To capitalize black hole, but not white hole.
Because one is socially acceptable.
All right. Well, I'm so glad I got to know you.
I really do appreciate you having me.
Yeah.
So that's the end of that. But since you guys have been so generous, there is something that I have that we can hang out and talk about.
Would you kill one?
Our favorite atheist, better than me, Alex O'Connor. Shout out to Alex O'Connor. Madison, the idea that let's try that again. The idea that we're like 10% smarter than apes. Imagine what 10% smarter than humans looks like. Is that God? Or from Neil deGrasse Tyson? And that's a good question, because that could be, especially with the advancement in technology, it could be such that in 100 years, we have found a way to better utilize our brains and become something that is almost unrecognizable to the human of today. You know? Madness said, let's watch a video explaining the fourth dimension in the after party. We can definitely do that. Make sure you are a member, or if you join tonight, you get a free pass. It's free to join for the free channel. That is the link pinned at the top of the chat. But as you saw in the video, we got a bunch of other channels, including our voice channel, where we have our after party for members only. But you can join us for free. Just come on and hit that free link. All right, so you guys are familiar with the trolley problem, right? So we are going to be talking a little bit more about some different versions. So this one, we have: would you kill one person, or would you double it and give it to the next person? So this would be you. You can either pull the lever and kill this one person, or you pass it off to this guy, and now there's two people. What do you do? Like I said, I've recently been going down the Wendigoon conspiracy theory. I've never heard of this. We don't have to talk about that in the after party. All right, let's see what we got.
Would you kill one person or double it and give it to the next person? Okay. On first thought, the answer seems obvious. Double it and give it to the next person. That person will get to decide whether to kill two people or give it to the next person. If they choose the next person, that person will choose between 4 people, or the next person 8 people, then the next person. And so if everybody just keeps passing it on to the next person, as long as there's no end to this, presumably nobody has to die. But to the next person, as long as there's no end to this, presumably nobody has to die.
Anybody disagree? I think that if we're using this as a thought experiment, that is easy. That is easy. If we're taking it into practical life, then you actually have to trust that the people are going to not pull the lever. And I think there's an aspect of, you know, as you go further from the initial person, and now you have 2, and then you have 4, and then the more people there are, I would expect that even if there's somebody down the line that might pull the lever for one person, that by the time we get to 500 people, that they wouldn't pull it. But Box says, I disagree. All righty then. What do you disagree? Nick said, I'm walking the fuck away and letting someone else decide if they pull the lever or not. So, and Nick is taking the second option, hoping that everybody is good.
But we have to be rational here. Human beings are not perfectly moral, and especially if this does go on infinitely, which we're just going to park some of the laws of physics in order to allow for that to happen. Given an infinite amount of time, anything that could possibly happen is guaranteed to happen. If this genuinely goes on forever without end, then as long as it's possible for at least one person to pull that lever, it's guaranteed to happen at some point. So some number of people are getting killed here, but you are in quite a unique position. You are the only person in this entire scenario who can guarantee that the fewest number of people possible end up dying by pulling the lever, killing that one person, and ending the trolley problem right there. So weirdly, even though it seems like you're choosing between definitely killing one person or the potential to kill nobody, you're actually guaranteed to kill some amount of people if you pass it on to the next person, because if this does go on infinitely, somebody is going to pull the lever. However, of course, if we switch the laws of physics back...
Oh, Box can't work in hypothetical scenarios. Come on, brother. This is the part of this is the entire purpose of a thought experiment. How would you feel if you didn't eat yesterday, Box? How would you feel if you didn't eat yesterday?
Back on again, we can recognize that this will not, in fact, go on forever. And so my only question would be, when does this end? Like, is it 100 people that you could possibly give this to? In that case, I'd be pretty confident that no one's going to pull the lever and kill the innocent people, because I reckon 100 people have it in them to do the morally correct thing.
So then that becomes the question is, okay, this is not infinite. Let's not park the laws of physics and say there is a finite amount of people pulling triggers and pulling levers and on the tracks. Look at that still. How many people? So let's say you're still the first person in line. You still only have one person that you're going to kill if you pull the lever. It still doubles, but you know that there's 50 people, or you know that there's 100 people, or you know that there's 1,000 people, or you know that there's 10,000 people. What is the number that you would feel comfortable saying, okay, I'm going to send this to the next person because I think everybody in the line will continue to send it? Assuming at the end of the line that there is an option for that person to pass as well. Because if it's going to, then that doesn't really make sense. So assuming the last person also has the chance to not pull the lever and then the question is, what number, how many people would you trust? I think it's pretty easy. If it's 3 people, and you can see there's people will die unless the 3 of us don't pull the lever. Pretty easy. 10 people? I feel like 10 people I would be okay with. And he's going up to 100. 100, I'm not even super confident with 100. But what? I'm saying 25. 25 people. After that, I can't trust anybody. What's your number? What's your number?
All the innocent people, because I reckon 100 people have it in them to do the morally correct thing. But wait, I'm not sure about that, because as the number of people increases that could pull the lever, so do the number of victims. And actually, the number of victims are doubling every time. It's exponential, whereas the number of people who could potentially pull the lever are going up linearly. And I think people often don't really understand the power of exponential growth. There's a famous myth about some ruler of India sometime hundreds and hundreds of years ago. I think it might be like the guy who invents chess. Really impressive.
Yeah, right. Person is smart. People are dumb.
This Indian ruler. And the ruler says, I'll give you a reward because of this wonderful game that you've invented. Anything you like. And all the inventor of the chessboard wanted in return was for the ruler to take 1 single grain of rice and put it on the first square of the chessboard. Then just double it. Take 2 grains of rice and put it on the second square. Then 4 on the third square and 8 on the fourth square, and so on and so forth. And the ruler.
So, Box, are you saying one other person, or you would only trust yourself?
Ruler thinks, I got off pretty.
Well, give me your numbers. Why is Box the only one putting a number? Let's go. Numbers. I can end the show if you guys aren't down with this. I'm doing this for you.
Easy there, I can do that. It's just grains of rice. Sure thing, and he agrees. So on the first square, he puts 1 grain of rice. On the second, he puts 2. By the time he gets to the 10th square, there's 512 grains of rice. So still pretty manageable. But believe it or not, by the time you get to square number 20, there need to be 524,288 grains of rice on that square. By the time you get to square number 30, the ruler would need 536,870,912 grains of rice.
So my point here is that if we apply this to the trolley problem that we just had, that, okay, maybe we don't necessarily expect that all 100 people are going to save the life of one person. But if you're, what did you say, 30th in line, and there's 500 million people's lives at stake, I feel like that increases the level that I would trust that person not to pull the lever. Regardless of the level of trust. It's the same person. So whatever level of trust I have in you to not kill one person, the level of trust I have in you to not kill 500 million people has to be higher, right? So maybe that does go. So that goes back on my number of 25 when nobody else has given me a number. So yeah, I think 100 is, I'll go with 100, but maybe, or excuse me, I'll go 100 only because of the fact that there's so many people being added. I'm just going to wonder if I could actually trust, because it would start to become social norms and people going along with the person's decision before. Okay, so let's say it's far enough that you don't, nobody, well, but if everybody's doing what was done before, and you're the first person, and you pass it off, then you would expect other people to pass it off. No?
To fulfill his promise. So how many grains of rice would need to be placed on the final square of the chessboard, square number 64? 9 quintillion, 223 quadrillion, 372 trillion, 36 billion, 854 million, 775,808. That's
That's a larger number than I think any rational person would be willing to kill for any reason at all.
So that's a lot of rice. In fact, that's more grains of rice than there have been seconds since the universe began. So even if this scenario only had 100 potential people, and if you passed it on to 100 people and nobody pulled the lever, the game would just end. Even with only 100 people, if you double the number of victims every time, by the time you got to that 100th person, the number of victims would be, well, it's a number too large to actually say out loud. So I'll just put it on the screen.
633 octillion 825 septillion 300 trillion 114 billion 114 million 748,351,688.
Yeah, that's how many people we'd have on the tracks if we only got to the 100th person in the chain. If we let the
So yeah, I think I think in terms of probability and human behavior, 100 is a good place. 100 is a good number for me. If nobody gives me a number, then this will be the last part of the stream.
Let's go on to person number 266. The number of victims at that point would be more than the estimated number of atoms in the observable universe. So let's look at some expected value here. Even if the probability that one of those 100 people would pull the lever is incredibly small, because the number of victims involved is so unfathomably large, you have to kind of count these against each other. Such is the power of exponential growth, and such is the reason why I think I would probably just pull the lever at the beginning to get this over with. If Omega predict...
All right. No numbers, so I guess that is the end of the show, guys. Thank you so very, very much for hanging out. I appreciate you so very, very much. Let's shout out our donations. We had Josie with the super sticker. Bamar the elephant. Thank you so very, very much. Our boy Guam Tech. KFT with the 199. And Guam Tech again, and of course, our sponsor of the stream, Madness, with the $50, making sure Morty gets his peanut butter. And lucky for me, no push-ups in the swole goal, but it was met. Thank you so very, very much. I really appreciate the fact that you are here, guys. I know that you could be spending your time doing anything in the world. They were talking about shares on TV. They talk about how many viewers they get versus how many viewers of people who are doing other stuff. I know that there's an infinite number of other things that you guys could be doing. Yet, you spend your time here with me and giving me money. Thank you so very, very much, guys. If you are new here, please do hit that subscribe. I am live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it, dropping videos almost every single day, and it is a good time. Come on through the Discord. Again, it is absolutely free to join, and you get access to the after party if you join tonight. One night only. Come on through. Thank you again, guys. Once again, this is Morty, who bomb that peanut butter, and I have been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, we are out of here. Peace.